People are getting banned from chat right now. People are getting banned from chat right now.
How are you still so caught up about this?
Right, they're trying to kill him! Dude, this is awesome! Every moment is funnier than the last.
So let me see
this
if
this could be interesting. I'm about to be 2-0. Dr. Kill is playing coy, and he has got intel on his assassination target in advance. Brother, it's 45-year-old bald men coming into your chat and getting banned. Dude, I could not have in my wildest dreams have predicted that's what he was at. I literally would never have thought of that. I never would have thought of that. That's so crazy. Dr. Kill is closing in. Dr. Kill is looking for number 2 here.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. So, Pirate Software has appeared on controversial internet psychologist Dr. K's live stream. Now, do we all know about Pirate Software and Dr. K, or do I need to explain who both of them are? Pirate Software is a well-known, he claims to be a coding streamer. Like, he streams in the programming category on Twitch. And I believe he lobbied quite hard to get that made, and then started using that to promote himself, basically. He's the top of that category. He had a built-in base level audience that got him to sit at the top of that category very easily. And he farmed that to get his viewership alongside sort of like gaming YouTube shorts as well, and TikTok, posting a lot of shorts of him explaining concepts. Like he says, like he'll do like basically what he does. We might pull up an example, but he'll basically go, so people think that, like, philosophy is, like, this actual field of study. But really what philosophy is, and then he draws a circle in MS Paint. He's like, really what philosophy is it's like this circle. And then all these dots inside the circle are like thoughts. And that's like basically what he does. And it's like the most annoying shtick in the world. Like, it just absolutely... Because he talks, like, out of his ass on topics that he has no idea about. And tries to make it seem like he's got this expertise and is like summarizing this really complex knowledge to you in a simple way. But anyone who actually knows anything about the things he's talking about is sent into a blind rage by the clips from talking about it. So let's play an example quickly.
Any tips on going in a job interview? Yes. At the end of your job interview, when they ask you if you have any other questions for them, tell them this. If you were to hire me right now, where best would you utilize my skill set? Right now, if you were to hire me at this moment. The reason you do this is because it stops them from thinking of you as a potential hire and starts having them think about you as already hired. It is a social engineering question. You do this to change the way that they think about you.
So this is a very common thing. People talk about social engineering and stuff like that a lot. He calls himself a hacker. There's like so much lore to... I'm sure most people know this stuff, but he calls himself like a hacker and tries to seem like he's really good at hacking and social engineering and all this crazy stuff. Talks about how he went to DEF CON and won DEF CON and has all these total bullshit stories about how someone set up... What is it? It's like there's these portable, mobile, like, cell connection towers that you can set up. And they're, like, illegal for civilians to set up. You can only use them if you're, like, in the government, basically. Or in the army. And like, he claims that one of those got set up at DEF CON and he caught it. And, like... But, like, there was never any news stories about it, and it's the exact... Yeah, it's Stingray. But there was never a news story about it. No one else can corroborate these stories. He just talks out his ass and makes stuff up all the time. And he talks about how he worked at Blizzard, but he got a job from his dad at Blizzard, and all this shit. He's just, like, a total Nepo baby, hack, bullshit artist. Through and through. And everyone hates him, and he had a massive meltdown over the fact everyone hates him for being shit at World of Warcraft and blaming other people for the fact he's shit. But all of his videos are like this. So like there's another one about social engineering specifically I saw as I was just scrolling through here. Look, he just talks like the most...
So when I worked at Blizzard, I had to do a social
asshole.
engineering task where I had to hit customer support. And I had to get 50 questions answered. And let me tell you, I got my questions answered. I shouldn't have. That was the problem. They're not supposed to answer those. And one of the things that I found that was really interesting is people that had been there for 1 year were really, really hard to trick. But people that had been there for 5 years were really easy to trick. What have we learned? We've learned that training is the issue. Everybody that actually worked at the company got training in their first year, and then they never got training again. So they became complacent, exactly. The director of CS came, and he said, I want the names. And I said, I'm not giving you the names. You're just going to fire those people. And he goes, I'm going to go to your boss. I was like, do it. My boss is like, you got the names? I was like, yeah. And he goes, you going to give them to him? And I was like, no. And he goes, he's not going to give you the names, bud. And then I sat down and I was like, look, I'm not giving you the names, because if I did, you'd fire all of these people that are your best employees, the ones that have been here the longest. And in 4 years, you will have the exact same problem with the people that are...
He stuck it to the man. Yeah, he knew better.
Newbies right now. The issue is not the employees, it's your training regimen. I sat down with him, we created a new 6-month training regimen. Guess what? I went back about a year later, did the same thing. All those people passed with flying colors. Not a single one of them answered my questions. So when I worked at Blizzard...
Wow. Thor saved those people. Wow, what a badass. So, Pirate Software, total piece of shit. Dr. K, on the other hand, is a total piece of shit for actually kind of similar reasons. I'm not gonna lie, in my opinion. So, there's a whole thing of, like, some misconduct he engaged in with Rec for. I recommend the documentary Reckless, if you want to know more about that. But basically, one of his streamer kind of pseudo-patients committed suicide shortly after they had a conversation about how Dr. K would be his friend for 2 years, and he took it back, and then they were talking about reincarnation, and he was staring at his window, and then he threw himself off his balcony like a week later. It's a whole big thing. Obviously, you can't place direct blame on Dr. K necessarily for suicide. That's, like, crazy. But he definitely engaged in bad ways, and the Massachusetts Medical Board, or whatever it was, but I think it's Massachusetts Medical Board, issued, like, basically a denouncement, a slap on the wrist, basically, to Dr. K, saying, like, yo, you fucked around a little bit here, but we can see you're trying to improve your process. And he also... reprimand, thank you. He also used to push Ayurveda, which is Indian, like, homeopathy, basically. Like, talking about how you can read people's doshas. They either have earth dosha or fire dosha or water dosha, you know? Yeah, it's like total sued bullshit. And he used to talk about this a lot. And he even had, like, clips where he was talking about how you can use doshas to predict people's outcomes for COVID. And he was like, he just generally, he uses this stuff in a very weird way that puts a lot of people off, puts me off. And he excuses it all with this idea of all of his, like, subpar work, anything that falls below a standard that people might have. He says, oh, it's all about AoE healing. It's all about the net good. It's all about the AoE healing. And he does, everything is draped in this gamer language, and it's very off-putting, very annoying to anyone with who doesn't have, like, a severe developmental disability. And he just makes this slop psychology content that's supposed to make you feel like you're improving your life when you're not. So let's just watch this. Let's have a look. Apparently, Pirate Software cries in this, so I can't wait to see it. And yes, he does say AoE healing. That's an actual Dr. K term.
On my end.
Okay, well, it's working for me, so that's all that matters in life.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Isn't that what you learned?
Oh, no, dude. Is this going to be narcissist meets narcissist? Clashing narcissistic personalities here?
I'm trying to fix it.
Immediately?
Very nice. No, I think fix this. I
think I got mine. Did we do it? Okay.
Kind of.
Okay, sweet.
I'm trying to fix it on my end.
Okay, well, it's working for me, so that's all that matters in life.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. Isn't that what you've learned from being on the internet recently? Yeah,
definitely. That's how it works.
Is that if it works for someone, that's all that matters?
It's all that matters. Yep.
Yeah, so how you been, Thor?
It's been rough.
Yeah, I hear that. So I don't really follow much of...
Okay, sorry, 2 seconds. One aside briefly. Parry got banned from Loam's subreddit. I have to quickly read this. So after Loam put that reply, Parry replied, "This is why I've been so desperate to hold you accountable, Liam, so that bad faith vultures like this can't try and offer you up as a sacrifice to benefit themselves. Learn to take my help, Liam."
You know, internet drama. So you want to talk about what's been going on, or you want to, like, not talk? Oh, which is, like, totally fine.
I don't even know where to start with it.
What's going on?
I think recently I've actually been dealing with the ferret rescue. So I guess we should start with that, because it's more recent stuff. We had and this kind of ties back into it too. So we had 2 deaths in the rescue this last week, which is rough, you know, and like I'm finding because we're at about 60 ferrets now. We hover around 60, and we lose about 1 to 2 a month because it's a rescue, and that's kind of how it works. You get animals in that are really messed up, really bad position, and that's just kind of how it goes. And I'm finding that I can't emotionally connect with every animal. You just can't do it. It's not humanly possible to do that because you're going to lose them, and you can't like absorb that at all times. It's not like a healthy thing to do. And I've been going through that through like the last couple of them, but the last one really messed me up because it was Ghost, and Ghost is she was one of the first rescue ferrets.
Yeah, I'm not here to hear about your
like physically
fucking
abused
ferrets,
badly,
buddy. I gotta be real.
Emotionally. And when I went to go pick her up, she was like one of the first ones that I went to go pick up. Normally they give you in like a carrier, and the person's like all excited, and they're like, "Hey, I'm really sorry, and I feel bad. I feel like a bad person." You talk to them about it, and then they give you the animal, and there's like crying and whatever, right? And then you take the animal, and then they want to reach out and know how they're doing everything like this, because it's usually a person surrendering.
And guys, now is a great time to remind you. If you haven't liked the stream already, please move your cursor to thumbs up and click it, or press the thumbs up on your mobile device. Either one would be hugely appreciated. If you want to take your support one step further, however, you can click the stream elements link in the pinned chat message. You can also buy a membership to the channel, gift a membership to the channel, gift a whole bunch of memberships randomly throughout the chat. Buy a super chat to highlight your message and read it on TTS, or buy a super sticker, which is a YouTube image or GIF that we highlight in chat, and I'll describe it to you. You can go to discord.gg/Kuihman, twitter.com/Kuihman, or reddit.com/r/Kuihman. And also now, watch on Twitch at twitch.tv/Kuihman, if you prefer Twitch.
I go to the house, and I'm like, "Hey, you know, I'm here to pick her up." And this person just did this, and like handed this ferret to me like this, and it's covered in shit. Like just feces all over the body. And I'm like, "Do you have like a carrier?" And they're like, "Nah." And emaciated, covered in feces, ear mites, visible ear mites. It was awful, and it's just she's scratching herself. She had like it was bad, dude.
Oh my god.
Take her to the vet, and we fix her up, and then we find that she is deeply afraid of other animals. She can't be near the ferrets at all whatsoever. Anytime you put her near one, she freezes, and then she bites them and immediately pee and poop, which is not a normal response for a social animal. It's like very clearly something has gone wrong. She came from like some kind of an abusive household situation. We've never seen a ferret do that ever. And I worked for, I want to say, God, it's like 2 years now. It had to be like 2 years of working with this animal every day, trying to like get her to integrate with the others, and she never would do it. But she was just so sweet, and I just played with her every day because they need kind of social interaction. And
how did she respond to humans?
Great, totally fine with humans. She was afraid of being picked up at first, which is kind of common because people don't know how to handle them, and then they get afraid of hands. It's like a normal thing. But she's fine with humans. She was terrified of animals. It was very strange. And it's weird, especially with being afraid of other ferrets. It's very odd, right? So it probably a neglect situation where she was just left in a cage with another ferret and learned to be afraid of them because it's all learned behavior. It's super social. So, but a couple of weeks ago, she suddenly started coughing, and it turned out she had Hodgkin-like lymphoma. Okay. Which is hyper-aggressive cancer. It killed her.
I'm skipping through the ferret talk.
Couldn't save her. Couldn't do anything.
I'm skipping through ferret talk.
So
they're saying that I sound good on your stream.
Okay.
Yeah, so this whole thing started with like World of Warcraft Classic back in January.
Okay, here we go. This whole thing started with World of Warcraft Classic back in January. Tell us, Thor, what happened in World of Warcraft Classic back in January? Do we need a refresher? Because it's absolutely incontrovertible what happened in January. Undeniably, Pirate Software fucked up in that raid. Not just fucked up, but like was being deliberately selfish.
Boss is coming too, watch out.
Yeah, well, I got shield wall.
So they get 2 players killed here. So
I can taunt left.
Here's what happens.
The massives can be ice novas. Innervate the healer kill.
Walking, bro.
Come back a little bit. Kill the massives. Kill the massive, yeah, target. God damn.
Oh, really? It's just from the start of the video. Okay. So you see here. So people may not know about World of Warcraft Classic. I've played World of Warcraft since I was a kid, so I unfortunately do understand most of this. So here's basically what's happening here. They are fighting a group of mobs, and the tank has overpulled, which means there are too many enemies in this little group for them to really kill the way they're going. So something has to change, okay? Something's got to change. They make the call to run away, all right? So we're going to see that first.
Boss is coming too, watch out.
Yeah, well, I got shield.
Yeah. So they're fighting a boss, and they've pulled the boss while there's still other enemies, like trash enemies around.
God damn.
I actually don't remember
Just
the
run.
boss
Can you target
dival
me?
very well, but I remember all the rest of it. Oh, yeah, also this is hardcore. So, the whole point, the reason this matters so much is because it's permadeath. So, if your character dies, you have to start a new character. And these are streamers who have been playing these characters for weeks. These are, like, pretty close to top-level characters that they're, like, basically getting gear, getting ready for level 60.
I can target them, yeah. Should I do it?
Just kill the massive. Yeah, target them. Kill the massives.
No.
Yo, thank you for the smile, Q. Thank you for the €5. Huge appreciated.
Also, are you fine? Any grenades,
I got last
anything?
stand. You can just
Heal him,
kill
heal
them.
him, heal him.
So, they've made the call to run. You see, Pirate Software here, it's not too bad. He's still with his team. He is putting down a couple spells. He's put down a thing called Blizzard, which drops down ice shards and slows enemies within the range. Now, the best thing for him to do, here's the thing, is he's playing Frost Mage, which has endless. It's like one of the most OP, if not the most OP classes in Classic WoW. Has endless options. He can regen mana. He's got items to regen mana, so he can spam out spells, really. And it's it's a crowd control class, or it has a lot of crowd control. And that means that he can slow down and stun enemies a lot. So he's got stuff that holds them in place. He's got stuff that slows them. And he's using like one spell. He uses like Blizzard. And then he's also got something called Blink. And what Blink does, Blink is a teleport that teleports you about like 6 feet ahead for a little bit of mana. And it helps you get away from things a lot quicker. Now, what a normal adept Frost Mage would do is they would not immediately start using their Blink, but expend their crowd control options, remain with the team, and expend their crowd control options on the enemies to try and help their team either get away or create some distance so that they can build up their health and deal out a bit more damage at a distance from these enemies so that they can try and turn the tides. And it's very easy to do this as a Frost Mage. You can, because of your combination of both crowd control and Blink, you're able to quickly maneuver out of the way of enemies while also maintaining slows and stuns and roots or whatever you need to do on the enemies. Yeah, the call to run was bad, but they do call people to come back, and Pirate Software ignores that. The call to run was retarded though. They shouldn't have totally run. They just ran. They just need to create some distance and kind of. Yeah, exactly. His spec is for exactly this, and there's so much he could be doing here. But what does he choose to do?
Any grenades,
I got last
anything?
stand. You can just
Heal him,
kill them.
heal him.
Yeah, you just heal me. Just come back a little bit.
So come back a little bit, and you can see now. This is Pirate Software's point of view. No allies around him. No one near him. No allies. No enemies. He's gone. He's already gone. He's way out of the danger zone, and he's kind of just like leaving now. But they're going back.
Me sitting bear form.
Snuppy, just run.
I can help a lot. Yep.
Pirate, why are you walking, bro?
What are you talking about? Why am I walking? Look at my mana.
So, do you hear that? Someone says, "Why are you walking? Why are you running? Why are you leaving, buddy? Why are you exiting out?" He's on 600 out of 4,908 mana, and he has, I believe, doesn't he have robes that can regen his mana? And he also has potions that can regen his mana, and he has a thing called, I think it's like a mana stone or something as well, a mana gem. Yeah, mana gem he has as well, which can regen mana. So he has lots of items right now that could be regenning his mana. He's on 600 mana there. He's already completely safe here. At this moment, he is beyond safe. If he just, even if all of his allies died right now, if he kept walking to the exit at normal speed, he would win. He would not win, but he would escape with no damage. He would be totally fine.
Yep.
Pirate, why are you walking, bro?
What are you talking about? Why am I walking? Look
This
at
is
my mana.
savageable. Come
Innovate
on,
you?
man.
Just kill the mastiffs.
Innovate.
Innovate the
Use
healer.
Nova, bro,
Kill the
come on.
mastiffs. We got
He
this.
heals.
In the sense of
Or something.
Yeah, he has chosen. So he was already completely safe. No, Lama, you're just completely wrong. You're incorrect. Objectively incorrect here. You're not safe when you're surrounded by regards. You're safe here. This is safe. This is objectively safe. Nothing can get to you as long as you keep walking. You will not take damage at this moment. or at any moment past this, as long as you are still walking to the exit.
Hey, just come back a little bit.
Boss on me, sitting bear form.
Snuppy, just run.
I can help lot. Yep.
Pirate, why are you walking, bro?
And yet, the moment he is pressed on why he's walking, he blinks, almost seemingly intentionally, to spend mana, not for even the sake of gaining distance, because he doesn't need the distance, for the sake of spending mana, so that when his next response comes out, it makes more sense.
I can help lot. Yep.
Pirate, why are you walking, bro?
What are you talking about? Why am I walking? Look at my mana.
This is savageable. Come on, man.
Just kill the mastiffs.
Innovate.
Innovate the
Nova,
healer.
bro,
Kill the
come on.
mastiffs. We got this.
Heals.
In a sense of.
Or something.
No, what do you mean? A teammate even bot pulls in that?
Come back a little
What's
bit.
he pulling?
Boss on me, sitting bear form.
Snuppy.
What, you're worried about? You're worried about these?
Heal him.
Yeah, just
You
heal
worried
me,
about
just come back
these?
a little bit.
Boss
The
on
complete opposite direction to the
me,
exit?
sitting bear form.
Snuppy, just run.
I can help lot. Yep.
Pirate,
Okay, so let's say you're worried about those. He's definitely safe here already. As long as he keeps walking forward, he's definitely safe here.
why are you walking, bro?
So why does he blink?
What are you talking about? Why am I walking? Look
This
at
is
my mana.
savageable. Come
Innovate
on,
you?
man.
Just kill the mastiffs.
Innovate.
Innovate the
Nova,
healer.
bro,
Kill the
come on.
mastiffs. We
There
got
is
this.
no excusing this play. There is no excusing this play. That's why no one excuses it. You just haven't played enough of the game if you genuinely think this is like remotely excusable.
In a sense of.
Or something.
Do you see my mana? What am I supposed to do for you?
Just kill the mastiffs. One shot. Okay, we
More
pulled
than-
another
more on the way,
pass
more on the
from
way.
now.
Ice Nova.
The mastiffs can be ice novas.
Dead.
Now we're gonna wait.
Nusara.
No.
Okay, get out.
Run.
Not regenning mana, not using any CC. Could have blizzarded. Could have literally dropped a blizzard from there.
Okay, get out.
Run.
Evocation's on cooldown, man.
Did you have mana gem, mana robes? You have fucking potions,
I can taunt last.
How much mana is
moment of
Ice
as well?
Nova? There's no that much mana.
and he's already
You have
out.
a
And he's literally out. Literally just out.
Evocation's on cooldown, man.
Totally obscene.
I can taunt last.
How much mana is
moment of
Ice
as well?
Nova?
Dude. So that's the clip. And that caused insane drama for this guy, because he kept doubling down saying retarded shit that obviously wasn't true about the game.
I was part of this thing called OnlyFangs, and you kind of meme around, you make characters, but it's hardcore, so if your character dies, you lose it forever. But it's a character in a video game, right? So we're doing this
Just a
dungeon,
game, guys. Just
and
a game.
the call was made to run. But it's kind of before that is we did the dungeon before that in a group, and we failed. And it was like, oh shit, everybody's running, everyone's freaking out, and we all made it out alive on that one. So we decided to go back in. Probably shouldn't have done that. When you have a group that falls apart like that, you probably shouldn't do it again. But we went back in, and on this one, a poll was made that was way too big. We weren't ready for it, and then all of us fucked up. Like every single one of us did, including me. And I talked about it online for it.
Okay.
But there was a pinnacle moment where one of the guys said, run. So we all ran.
But yeah, everyone fucked up. Everyone, usually, if you're not, no one plays perfectly on WoW except really, really, dedicated players. And streamers who are just playing it for content obviously aren't going to be like giga dedicated and always on 100%. So there are going to be mistakes in pretty much every run, I guarantee, in this OnlyFans guild. So the issue isn't making mistakes. The issue is when your mistakes are so big and so prevalent, it causes huge damage to your team, and then you refuse to accept the responsibility. When you keep pointing fingers around and you refuse to look at yourself.
Because you're letting a guy be a shot caller. And then as I ran, he goes, why are you running to me? And I'm like, I could be a dick right now and be like, you told us to run, right? I could just like reflect that, be like, what are you talking about? Like, you did that. And I was like, what do you want me to do for you? Right. And I said, what do you want me to do for you? Look at my mana. Because it was mostly out of mana, but I had resources that I could have done for it. And I tried to make like kind of a light of the situation, and I was mostly irritated. It was an irritation response, not like a real accurate response. And it turned into this massive meme. And there's people in chat getting banned for it right now even. So for over 100 days now, there's people that spam mana gem and you're out of resources and run away from your friends and all this kind of shit. And the thing that's crazy about that
Literally
is
just see that,
tying
like,
back
dude,
into-
he's so sensitive. People are getting banned from chat right now. People are getting banned from chat right now.
How are you still so caught up about this?
Ferret stuff is, when Ghost died, my YouTube got littered with comments saying Ghost died because she was out of mana.
Oh my god.
That's the
Dude. Should he used mana gem?
the shit that I'm getting every day now. Because these aren't people that give a shit about World of Warcraft. They're not people that give a shit about those characters. They're not people that care about any of this stuff. They just want to hate me, and they're doing everything they possibly can to do that in the most vicious and fucked up way I've ever seen. And it is thousands of people. It is not a small amount of people. It is thousands. And I get this shit every day. And then there's people that come in and they go, oh, it's so funny. I just said mana in his chat and I got banned. It's like, yeah, we've banned 50,000 people on Twitch alone for this shit. 50,000 accounts so far for that. And about 14,000 have gotten unbanned because they put an unban request because they're like, oh, I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. And it's like, dude, this is crazy. It's been going on for over 100 days now. I think it's like, yes, it's about over 100 now. And
This guy isn't actually such a lolcow, man. It's so
people made all
awesome.
kinds of wild ass accusations on me. They tried to say I was a pedophile at one point because I had a friend back when I was like 19 and they were like 17. We're still friends today. We're both almost 40. And they tried to make up allegations about the two of us, and she had to come out, or
Not
he had
the
to come out and
second
say,
life
like, no, this is
allegations.
bullshit. That never happened. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? So, like, we keep getting, like, these... basically, I got gish galloped for a while, where it's like...
What does that mean?
Shitload of weird... gish gallop is like, I say a whole bunch of lies about you, and you can't respond fast enough, so it looks like they're true. Is basically the way that it felt.
No,
so it was like a whole bunch of...
Wait, what were the lies? Okay, yeah, I understand people calling him a pedophile. Yeah, that's not true, obviously. Like, the allegations of being a pedophile are fucking retarded. Sure. You did roach on... Wow. You did refuse to accept any responsibility. You did act like a prick about it for days. Weeks, even. You did farm the coding category while doing absolutely no fucking work for like a year or two. You did release an early access game that was like Kickstarted or whatever that you've completely dropped development on, aside from like the most minor like 2 megabyte updates. Like what are the lies? Yeah, I understand. Okay, the pedo allegation is retarded. I agree with them on that one. But you haven't been gish galloped or whatever the fuck you think that means. That's not true.
Weird accusations all at the same time as quickly...
Yeah, exactly. This is absolutely yes. It is an Emperor has no close situation. He had the persona going for a long time, but it's become obvious he's just an insecure guy telling tall tales. Yes, that's the real problem. Is the veil has fallen, the veil has come down, the veil has been lifted. Everyone can see what he's like. He had a good thing going on YouTube Shorts where people only saw 3 seconds of him at a time, going like, "Oh well, you see." The thing about AIDS is that if you've got enough money, you can just survive it. And then it's like drawing an MS Paint drawing. And everyone was like, wow, this guy's so smart. This guy understands everything. And now people are seeing him talk for more than like 5 minutes and seeing him like try and finish a video game or developing a video game, I mean, or play a video game that he allegedly helped develop. And now people see it.
As possible.
MS Paint drawing with
And
AIDS
it's weird
patient.
because when you fight against them, I found... Something that's really odd to me is I've never seen this before on the internet. Normally, when you ignore stuff, it kind of goes away. You can't ignore things now.
You haven't been
If you ignore
ignoring
something
it.
like that, people immediately think it's true. And when it's serious allegations like that, you have to respond. So immediately responded to it, shut it down. When I did that, there was a very large number of people who go, no one thought that was real anyway. And then there was a whole nother group of people that go, oh, you're fighting it, which means it's true.
I
It's
see.
like, where is this coming from? It's like the most whiplash.
Whoa, people will be dishonest just to fuck with you online. Whoa, no way.
Strange behavior.
Truly, you're the first person to ever suffer this phenomenon. Dude, what is it with all these fucking losers? There was someone else. It's like Destiny does this now. There was someone else I was listening to last night talk about something. And they were basically saying, Ethan Klein, that was it. People, there is this thing happening with these big YouTubers and streamers now where they're saying like, basically, they're like, oh, did you guys know that internet trolls exist? And sometimes they take things too far and they do horrible things to you. It's like, yeah, everyone knows this. This has been... Where have you been for the last 40 years? Unironically, the last 4 fucking decades. Where have you been? And they act like it is this novel, unique thing that is this novel, unique punishment that is being exacted upon them by some group. No, bro, you're embarrassing yourself, and people are making fun of you and lying to do it because you act worse. I'm sorry, this is the internet. Yeah, exactly. They're all participating on the other side and having a blast. Exactly. I'm sorry, this is how it goes. Do you think, like, you know, the amount of times I've had fucking arguments about retarded shit like fucking lolly or some shit. Like, am I gonna sit here and go, God, I can't believe it, guys. There are people who are pretending I'm a pedophile because they think it's gonna get a rise out of it. Like, dude, are you fucking retarded? Are you fucking retarded? Like, how fucking embarrassing would that be? Yeah, exactly. I can't believe Ethan Klein had CPS called on him. Nothing like this has ever happened to anyone before. Dude.
That I've seen on that stuff pretty much ever. And it kind of freaked me out, man. But yeah, it's invested internet trolling. Yeah, I think it's the most invested that I've seen with this kind of stuff. It reminds me of a lot of like...
Legit, he's saying right now, this is the most invested internet trolling he's ever seen. Are you insane? You're smoking crack. You're living in a fantasy. I'm sorry, you're not that big of a deal. I know that you're 20k viewers. You're a big streamer. You're not that big of a deal. The most invested internet trolling you've ever seen. You are insane.
Connie 2012, which is just like...
Connie 2012? What? Huh?
But yeah, it's invested internet trolling. Yeah, I think it's the most invested that I've seen with this kind of stuff. It reminds me a lot of like Connie 2012.
Huh? What? Huh?
Which is just like people
what?
They've absorbed into their personality that
Connie 2012?
They need to kill me by whatever means. Right? And
they're trying to kill him. Dude, this is awesome. This is fucking awesome. The internet trolls are trying to kill Thor. It's just like Connie 2012. Dude, this is next level. What is happening? Dude, what?
When I say kill, I mean it. Like, I've gotten swatted over.
Every moment is funnier than the last. Dude.
Behavior that I've seen on that group. Very large number of people who go, no one thought that was real anyway. And then there was a whole nother group of people that go, oh, you're fighting it, which means it's true. It's like, where is this coming from? It's like the most whiplash, strange behavior that I've seen on that stuff pretty much ever. And it kind of freaked me out, man. But yeah, it's invested internet trolling. Yeah, I think it's the most invested that I've seen with this kind of stuff. It reminds me a lot of like Connie 2012, which is just like they've absorbed into their personality that they need to kill me by whatever means, right? And when I say kill, I mean it. Like, I've gotten swatted over this. I've had weird phone calls to my phone where they're trying to like set me up to try to get me arrested and all kinds of shit.
CPS skulls. CPS and skulls, guys. The CPS and the skulls.
Like, I've gotten swatted over this. I've had weird phone calls to my phone where they're trying to like set me up to try to get me arrested and all kinds of shit. I've had death threats, thousands of death threats over this, which is just insane. It's weird, man. Like, I've never seen this kind of vitriol over.
So, can we finally, I hope, if there's any fucking retard watching this right now that sits there and, yes, please, I have to watch. I want to see Nick Diorio and Chud Logic and all these people who sit there and get on streams and say, God, can you believe what happened to Ethan? The CPS and the skulls and the swords. CPS and skulls and swords, oh my. Get on stream and laugh at this and explain to me how exactly it's okay for Ethan to sit there and act like a pathetic retard, spazzing out and threatening lawsuits at every single person who says something bad about him. Because some disconnected anonymous third party did abhorrent things to him. So how they've sat there and backed that up for months, and now they're going to watch Pirate Software do the same thing, where he's sitting here crying about how he's lolcowing out and internet trolls are being bad to him but somehow, in this case, it's Pirate Software's fault for spazzing out too much. And in the other case, Ethan Klein is a poor innocent baby who shouldn't be criticized for how his own actions bring about obvious negative impacts on himself.
Something that's just so not a big deal, and for such a long period of time too.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious. So first of all, that sounds insane.
It is, yeah.
Like, you know, I've certainly seen that there are people who I don't think people on the internet realize how much power they
Chad will say, you guys are obsessed with Ethan and spug out and move on.
to really like mess up someone. So there's this perception that, okay, if you're like successful or famous, that
It's not the same because Ethan's got kids.
I don't know if this makes sense. It's like almost like the things that you have going well in life are in the same HP pool as the psychological attacks.
My kids,
but
my
that's
kids,
not how it works.
My kids.
Right? So like I can have a really, really, really strong biceps, but that doesn't protect me from like Hodgkin's lymphoma. Like it just, like the dimensions of a human being, and maybe people understand this, right? So like you can have some dimension of your life going well, and if some other dimension of your life like goes really, really bad, there's a certain amount of resilience that carries through with like the human body. But generally speaking, you know, having a great relationship doesn't make up for a toxic boss. It can help you withstand it. And I think the other big thing that people don't really appreciate is that, like, you know, when someone has an emotional thing that happened to them, like it sounds like you lost a ferret that you were very closely attached to and had sort of connected with, and when they kind of like attack you in that way, like that's very like hurtful.
Well, I mean, it's intended to be. And like, I think what it came to is like, I can identify that and be like, okay, this is an unreasonable attack, right? There's kind of like reasonable attacks where like, hey, I'm upset at you for like legitimate reasons. This is why I'm upset at you. And we go, okay, cool. We either resolve that or we don't resolve it. And we kind of go from there, right? And then there's unreasonable attacks, which I think that is an unreasonable attack of like going in and be like, your ferret's out of mana. That's why it died. Like that's designed to just, it's designed to get in your head. It's designed to fuck you up. There's no someone trying to fix a scenario there. They just want to hurt you, right? And so I kind of package those in different ways. But yeah, no, they still hit you. There's no dodging that.
So what I'm kind of curious about, Thor, is like, so first of all, I
Wait, dude, sorry, I got a message.
That and be like, okay, this is an unreasonable attack.
The thing that people don't really appreciate is that, like, you know, when someone has an emotional thing that happened to them, like it sounds like you lost a ferret that you were very closely attached to and had sort of connected with, and when they kind of like attack you in that way, like that's very like hurtful.
Well, I mean, it's intended.
Wait, sorry, am I misunderstanding?
River to the sea.
Ethan Hassan's still debating. No, I'm so glad I did this instead. Holy fuck.
And like, I think what it came to is like, I can identify that and be like, okay, this is an unreasonable attack, right? There's kind of like reasonable attacks where like, hey, I'm upset at you for
okay,
like,
Sunday will be the Hassan Ethan debate mega show. Okay, we will watch the whole thing.
Reasons, this is why I'm upset at you. And we go, okay, cool. We either resolve that or we don't resolve it. And we kind of go from there, right? And then there's unreasonable attacks, which I think that is an unreasonable attack of like going in and be like, your ferret's out of mana. That's why it died. Like that's designed.
No, we won't do it in 2 nights, but we'll do it in one go. I'll plan, once I know how long it is, I can plan around. If I need to start earlier or go later or whatever, then I can plan around that a little bit. But it's like literally, how long is it? It's been going for like 5 hours or something, right? Almost like 3 hours or so, 3 to 5 hours.
At you, and we go, okay, cool. We either resolve that or we don't resolve it, and we kind of go reasonable attack, right? There's kind of like reasonable attacks where like, hey, I'm upset at you for like legitimate reasons. This is why I'm upset at you, and we go, okay, cool. We either resolve that or we don't resolve it, and we kind of go from there, right? And then there's unreasonable attacks, which I think that is an unreasonable attack of like going in and be like, your ferret's out of mana. That's why it died. Like that's designed to just it's designed to get in your head. It's designed to fuck you up. There's no someone trying to fix a scenario there. They just want to hurt you.
Yeah, TFW, my ferret's
Right. And so I kind of package those in different ways. But yeah, no, they still hit you. There's no dodging that.
So what I'm kind of curious about, Thor, is like, so first of all, I don't think that what you're going through is, I guess, justified. I mean, it's not my place to judge, but also like, it sounds like what you did was, I'm still not quite sure. You made a snide comment and then ran away in a hardcore dungeon?
I made a snide comment as we were escaping the dungeon, and 2 people died in that runaway.
Okay.
And that was it. And then all the people in 5. This is the funny part. The person who made the rude comment to me at the first place, it was like, "Why are you running?" He ended up getting caught in some other drama with it that I don't even know what happened, and I stepped away from it because I was like, I don't want to deal with any of this. I'm out. Right. After all that shit. But what ended up happening right after that?
Yeah, he's like all minimizing his own place in it. They just died. They just died.
It just
somehow.
exploded, man. Like it just detonated into the sun of just like people being. I feel unreasonably angry because to me it's like, that's a character in a video game. We just go make new characters. And the whole point, the whole motto for that entire thing was we go again. Your character dies.
So I think that this is where things get like if you're open to talking about this, like I think it could be helpful. Because I think there's 2 things that can be true at the same time. One is that the amount of hate that you've received is not acceptable. That I think is true. Like in this moment, I believe that to be true. Like that's not okay. And the way that you are describing the story and the response that you got, there's a big gap there that I think does not... So even if it's unfair, it seems like there's something missing to evoke. So what I'm thinking is like if there's a hardcore raid and people die, sometimes there's a weird situation on the internet where it's like Tinder catches fire and then things get blown out of proportion.
Sure.
So there's absolutely like an unfairness to that, but I'm also imagining and thinking about my experiences on the internet, and the way that you're describing it seems... So there's no question that things are like objectively, in my mind anyway, maybe I'm wrong here, but there's no way in my mind that you deserve what is happening to you, because I don't believe that someone getting death threats is warranted for anything that happens in World of Warcraft. I just don't think that that's like, I cannot envision a scenario in which those 2 points get connected.
Well, yeah, but he's saying Pirate Software thinks that what Dr. K is saying here is like, that's never okay. That's never justified. What Dr. K is actually saying is, you're clearly missing out part of this story. There's clearly something you're not telling me here. There's an element that has angered people so much that I'm not seeing. Something else happened here. Oh my god.
Anything that happens in World of Warcraft. I just don't think that that's like, I cannot envision a scenario in which those 2...
No. You don't understand what I'm saying. I literally cannot imagine that this is the case. This isn't the case.
Points get connected. And at the same time...
I do understand the route that it carried, though. And I can't explain that. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's... So because I think that, like, the nerve that you... So what I'm getting is that you struck a nerve. You really pissed a lot of people off. And running away in a hardcore wipe, like a hardcore raid that is wiping, I do not think is the nerve that you struck. Does that make sense?
No, it was the fact that I was smug on the way out, because I made the comment that I made was made with a smug face, right? Because like at that point it was like the group had already wiped once, we were in the process of wiping again, and I'm like, dude, like everybody who's involved in this is screwing up. Why are you calling out just me specifically? I'm going to make a smug comment in response. And then it turned into, this is just this guy's fault. This is just my fault. Shouldn't have made a smug comment for it. Know that, obviously. But the response for this to be 100 days of this and all these crazy allegations being made against me, that's doesn't make sense.
So you made you made the smug comment on stream?
Oh yeah, no, all this was live.
Okay, so this was live. And then was there some kind of aftermath? So usually when this stuff happens, it's like, if things go to Twitter, that's when people, I think, really dig themselves into a hole.
No, it didn't go to, like, I posted a post on Twitter saying, hey, this is all this stuff. I said in there, like, hey, this, everybody screwed up, including myself. This is everything that was going on. And that was that. And I have the post, if we can go pull it up. Let me go grab it. Whoop.
So what I'm curious about is the people who got mad at you at the beginning. I'm not talking about the death threat, folks. The people who got mad at you at the beginning, what were they mad about?
They were mad that I was being smug. That was like the general initial catalyst for it. The problem was, what I ended up seeing is a whole bunch of content creators, because this is a content guild, they took a whole bunch of clips of me to make it look as exaggerated as possible and then turn that into content all over the internet. And they kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. Since there's so many content creators pushing it at the same time to try and get as many views as possible, it pushed this narrative, and that spiraled it completely out of control. And when I say making content out of it, one of those creators actually had his child on video with the face blurred out say, "Pirate Software is a disgusting roach." Like, this is wild shit. And that's not a small creator. There's like thousands of viewers, right? So you see this kind of shit, and you're just like, what's...
He's such a victim. It's so crazy. Literally seething over a child being mean to him. A child making fun of him. And he's seething.
Wrong with you, man? Like, why are you doing this? I get it. That's why I put out...
Why are you putting me through this?
The video of, like, anything for views. And it's like, dude, I get that you're trying to do this for views, but you're doing it to cannibalize people around you in the same space as you. That's not sustainable long term. Maybe they don't care that it's sustainable or not.
Dude, this is the cope. This is the cope people use when they want it, when they just want to be, when they're a dishonest, clout sharking, networking reptile. Oh, you're cannibalizing people. You're cannibalizing people. If you're a disgusting, pathetic reptile who cannot do anything on their own, cannot stand up to criticism, this is what they will say. You're cannibalizing people. No, people are describing you accurately, describing you the way they see you. If that's causing problems for your brand, that's a you issue.
But that's fucked up. I don't think there's any other way I can describe that, is to try to cannibalize some other creator so you can get a quick view. Is nuts to me, man. Especially because throughout that event, I was trying to do things like, hey, let's go make content with this other creator. I was sending our community over to other people. Like one of the people that actually turned around and just immediately tried to turn it into memes and views and everything like that and try and go in on me. We had the whole community go over there and gave him a level 25 hype train. Like just, hey, you guys should support this dude. He's a smaller stream. He's got like 100 viewers. Go and support him. And everybody jumped over there and gave, it was like $20,000 in a hype train, dude. And then immediately switches around and does that shit. And it's like, what? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, so I know this is going to sound weird, Thor, but like I'm getting some missing qualities here. Have you heard that phrase? So,
yeah.
Do you know what missing means? The missing reasons? So I mean, we can take a look at your Twitter post if like. So I mean, I think we've actually got a couple of options here. So like, I enjoy talking to you. I like you. I respect you. I think that sometimes streamers make mistakes, and at the same time, I think that something about what you're describing feels like there's a chunk that's missing. So I totally,
think it's because it's all disconnected timeline wise.
Okay.
I guess it's hard to describe each individual piece. So the event inside of that dungeon happened. Then afterwards, I got brought into a call with the person who called me out. I left the call because he was shouting over me, and I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not going to have a fight with you. I don't want to deal with it. And I left. So that kind of made that more. And then content creators started to make a big deal about it. I started to receive death threats in the game from other players. And I said on stream, I'm going to start reporting people for doing this shit. I'm going to go after them. That got clipped, sent out onto the internet. And then when people sent that out on the internet, they tried to say that I was going after other streamers. when in reality I was going after the people who were sending me death threats, and the only streamers that I reported were ones that had done things like said on stream, I'm going to go to PirateSoftware's community and harass him because I think it's good content, saying that live on stream, which is like 2 or 3 people. And I don't think that's a wrong thing to report. So they clipped that one, and this all kind of got spread onto livestream fail and all these little pieces out of context. I guess the basic way to think about it is, imagine you're driving your car.
Yeah, well, I don't even know how much this is true. Like, I don't recall all this well enough.
So I mean, we can take a look at your Twitter post if like. So I mean, I think we've actually got a couple of options here. So like, I enjoy talking to you. I like you. I respect you. I think that sometimes streamers make mistakes, and at the same time, I think that something about what you're describing.
A group of black teenagers made fun of me in a park last week because of my tight pants. Them buttons is screaming twin, one of them jeered and they all laughed. Child bullies are real. Take them seriously.
Okay, black kids is different. Thank you for the $20, Jimbley. That's a different situation. That's a totally different situation. Thank you for the $20, Jimbley.
Like there's a chunk that's missing. So I
think it's because it's all disconnected, timeline-wise.
Okay.
That's why ends, okay? That's why ends.
The event
that's a different issue.
That dungeon happened. Then afterwards, I got brought into a call with the person who called me out. I left the call because he was shouting over me, and I was like, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not going to have a fight with you. I don't want to deal with it. And I left. So that kind of made that more. And then content creators started to make a big deal about it. I started to receive death threats in the game from other players. And I said on stream, I'm going to start reporting people for doing this shit. I'm going to go after them. That got clipped, sent out onto the internet. And then when people sent that out on the internet, they tried to say that I was going after other streamers, when in reality I was going after the people who were sending me death threats, and the only streamers that I reported were ones that had done things like said on stream, I'm going to go to PirateSoftware's community and harass him because I think it's good content, saying that live on stream, which is like 2 or 3 people. And I don't think that's a wrong thing to report. So they clipped that one, and this all kind of got spread onto livestream fail and all these little pieces out of context. I guess the basic way to think about it is, imagine you're driving your car.
I felt like he was way harsher on trying to get people banned than that. I don't feel like he only reported 2 or 3 people. He was really pressing the idea that people should be banned over this stuff.
And there's a guy sitting in the side seat. And he handcuffs you and takes control of the wheel. And you just get to watch the car drive. And no one will listen to you saying, hey, I'm not driving the car. This isn't accurate. They don't listen to that anymore. They just see your car driving in that direction. So they've taken full control of the narrative at that point, and I can't do a damn thing about it. And that's what happened on livestream fail. And we get that all the time now, too. So, like, anything that I do on stream, this will probably be clipped out of context and put up on livestream fail as well.
Someone should make an edit of this stream where they fact-check everything he says.
That would go hard. Thank you for the €5, Gucci. Thank you.
I'm not really surprised if something like that is. And they'll bring it up and go and do that kind of stuff.
I was virtually carjacked for digital urban youths.
Does that make sense?
No.
There's still more.
I would love to hear what else there is. And I think what bothers me the most about this is making sense for me on 2 major levels. One of which I think is...
Oh no. What is Dr. Kill about to say? What is Dr. Kill about to say? Will Thor survive this live stream? Let's see. About to see narcissistic crash out from Thor?
I'm just debating now for a second, because I think one of making sense for me on 2 major levels. One of which I think is... I'm just debating now for a second, because I think one of the things that
channeling Fire Dosha.
Starting to hypothesize.
Powering up his key?
I just really have to think about this.
All right.
Could really add fuel to the fire. So I have to think about whether I even want to mention that or not. So let's start with just getting more context.
Sure. So after all that live stream fail stuff went off, eventually it started.
Nina, sadly we did a poll. We did a poll earlier, and people chose this by a huge margin. So I will be covering the Ethan debate, but probably Sunday.
To kind of fall away. But then anytime anything happened with live stream fail, anything, or anytime anything happened with OnlyFans, the guild, I'd get blamed for it. they would think that they thought it was part of some kind of a narrative that I would show back up, and it was like a bit. The whole thing was a bit, and all the hate was a bit. And I was like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm out. I don't like, you know, I got kicked from the guild. I don't want to deal with any of this. I don't want to be a part of this. And then somebody actually DDoSed Blizzard in the middle of one of the OnlyFans raids to kill the raiders. So they DDoSed a multi-billion-dollar company, which is wild. Like, that's crazy to me. So they DDoSed that, and then I had a ton of people dive into chat saying like, oh, you did it. Why did you DDoS OnlyFans? Why did you go after OnlyFans? And then I found out Asmongold made a joke about that.
When did anyone... Dude. This is such a minor side point. Oh, some random retards thought I might have been the one who DDoSed Blizzard. Okay, man. Wow. Thank you for the $5, Monk. Thank you. Huge appreciated.
I love democracy.
And he was like, oh, it was probably Pirate Software. And it's like, no, that has nothing to do with me. And I said it on stream. I was like, you can't make those jokes. People believe them. They just believe it.
You can't make those jokes. You can't joke that Pirate Software DDoSed Blizzard. Guys, that's illegal. You can't joke like that.
And it's not everybody. Most people realize that a joke, but some people just believe that shit and then they run with it. You know, and that's kind of where that's gone. Yeah. It's one of the most disturbing things that I've seen. And in my chat right now, we're actually banning constant. So this is definitely already up somewhere.
What are you banning people for?
People that come in and say, like, calling me a roach, because the act of running out of a dungeon is called roaching in the game. Still 100 days. It's been 100 days. People that are spamming Mana Gem, which is the resource item that I could have used in the game at that time, just over and over again. See, they're just getting banned constantly. It's just like a constant stream of bans right now. And I knew that was going to happen.
How do you understand that?
How do I understand what?
Why that's happening so much?
What do you mean? I'm not sure I understand.
Yeah. How do you understand why people keep showing up? You're saying it's happening constantly, right? You're saying that...
Oh, it happens if I talk about it. It happens if I don't talk about it. This is every day. It's just more right now because we're talking about it.
Right. So I understand that it happens every day. It sounds like it's like awful.
Dude, how is that? What do they talk about here? This is a like over 2-hour conversation. What happens in this?
I don't think you deserve this. At the same time, I think that if we want to, we can try to understand it. Is that interesting to you?
Sure. I mean, I think I do understand it. I think it's
what do you understand?
I think it's become a popular thing. I think that's really what it is. It's become kind of like a signpost on the internet, like, hey, stop by and do this thing because it's funny. And I get that. Like, I understand that. You know, it's because for a lot of these people, they've never engaged with their community before. They don't know who I am. They're not really interested in who I am. They just want to pop in and say a thing and then get banned. And that's it. Right. And some of them are chat hoppers from other communities, from creators that don't like me from that event and have created negative content about me. So they're doing that. And they come over from that community and they think that's part of it, you know, or they want to be a part of that in some way. Some people describe it as parasocial within the community, but to be real with you, I think it's just people that want to be part of something. And if that something is just hitting me, like, whatever.
Okay. Can you show me that? Do you feel... Okay, so, like, is this what we're talking about today? Like,
I mean, I guess.
I mean...
You want to know how things are going. This is it.
Okay, so I think this has the potential to be great. And the reason for that is, like, I think that there's a lot that everyone...
Mr. Girl was so right about this guy as well, by the way. This is sociopathic.
Who is watching right now can relate to and understand. The thing that I'm concerned about is that I'm going to challenge you in some ways. And the main thing that I'm concerned about is how the way that I challenge you could be clipped out of context, misconstrued, used as evidence that Thor is the worst human being on the planet. Does that make sense? Like, I'm actually, like, genuinely concerned about that. That, like,
I almost guarantee that it will.
Right? So then I think we have to make a decision about... So I think that there is a way... I'm hopeful, but I don't know. I think there is a way that if we have this conversation, it can actually decompress a lot of the emotional energy that's on the internet. But I think
No,
a lot of
talk about it because like it's I'd be down to talk about it because to be real with you, it's not really changing anything at this point. Like the route of trying to ignore it, the route of trying to talk about it, the route of trying to reason about it. We've done pretty much everything that I can think of at this point over like 100 days. And like I've sent over to Kronos, if you're there, I sent him the tweet so he can get it over to you.
Okay. Let me take a quick look at this. So, because I think this is like, I'm really sorry you're going through this. And I think that there's a lot that we have to be careful about.
Yeah, dude.
And
the
also,
lawyer...
I think the reason that we're here is to try to have some challenging.
Oh yeah, dude. He fucking DMCA'd that game, didn't he? Too. What was that? Private Parts? It was, wasn't it? He fucking DMCA'd that fucking the stupid streamer game.
Conversations. So can I actually, while I'm waiting for that tweet from Kronos, I'm going to go grab an iPad because I think drawing here could be helpful.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, do it up. Actually, I need to find out if Kronos is here. Mods, in the emergency channel, is Kronos here? Buh?
The emergency
Is
channel.
Kronos not here? Yeah, I'm just going to send it to him. We'll just do this. I can send it to him in this channel, because I don't know if he's actually here. Oop. Share stream, dude.
Okay. So.
Wow.
This is going to be interesting.
Chad is talking about the chair stream that they just got to experience.
I know. It's great. So let me see if
this could be interesting. I'm about to be 2-0.
Pull this tweet up.
Yo, thank you for the raid, Chad. Welcome in. Welcome in. We have totally ditched Ethan and Hassan for tonight. To watch instead, Pirate Software talking to Dr. K about all of his drama. Apparently he cries during this interview, and Dr. K so far is pressing the fuck out of him.
I'm going to just switch. I'm going to switch overlays for a hot second. Okay. And Thor, let me know, the second that this feels like not a good use of our time, please let me know.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So
totally makes sense.
This OnlyFans stuff actually sucks. Lots of weird attack posts.
There's a couple of links in there as well.
Yeah.
That go to the original like posts about this stuff. I think you need those for context.
Okay. So let's take a look at that. And okay. So to start with, here's my response to the Dire Maul. From my perspective, I didn't feel I could save anyone else with the resources I had left, even with the mana gem and robe cooldowns. Since the call was to run, was made, I followed the call and got out as quickly as possible. In every other instance where stuff has hit the fan, a shot caller is called a specific target, and nobody died, you call run, run, run. Okay, Yamato pinned the entire thing on
So Dr.
me.
K has gone and got all of the the resources from this drama, all the tweets and stuff. So we're gonna speed this up while he gets to evidence. We'll see his pressing.
Yep.
Okay.
That's how I felt at the time. I still feel that way.
Okay. Our party went wrong. Each person in the group made mistakes, including myself, to pin on a single person. Okay, hope it was worth it for you. Okay. So this was live on stream, right?
Yeah, all of it was live. Absolutely.
And so it was also live who made the call to run?
Yes. Yeah, he made the call to run.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like here's the hate raid that you're talking about. Okay. So, thank you so much for...
And we expected, and that's why I wrote in there, I was like, those trying to defend me, don't worry about it. We expected that to last like maybe 10 days. The internet generally doesn't care about things a super long period of time. 100 days?
Yeah,
still
so...
people in chat like spamming and getting banned, and like, that's wild.
This is, you were right, this is wild. So we're going to like try to understand this, okay? So... This is going to be tough. Okay, so let me start with this.
Dr. K, he's about to try and make this guy understand why people are so pissed off with him. Dude, this is going to be rough.
That, you do something, right? Let's say you take an action in life. In the response, would you agree that the response that you are getting is disproportionate to the actions that you've taken?
I would absolutely agree with that, yeah.
Okay. So let's...
It doesn't mean I was in the right. It doesn't mean I was in the right. But I do think the response is disproportionate.
I'm with you, okay? So I'm going to start by... Huh?
I don't think it's disproportionate on an individual level, to be clear. I think each person individually that responds with that thinks that they're the only one responding with it, or that they don't feel like it's that big of a deal because it's just one person and they don't understand scale.
Okay. So I concur with that too. So let's start with a couple of like really basic things. So the first is, I do not believe, this is a judgment that I'm making, you're welcome to disagree, but I think the majority of people who are on the internet, I would hope, can agree that something that happens on a stream involving a hardcore raid does not warrant a death threat. That's my first axiom, okay? The second thing is that...
I would hope so.
even if we think you're an asshole, that the amount of psychological punishment you are experiencing is, at this point, sufficient. So, I would encourage everyone who is watching this, listening to this, if shit gets clipped out of context, and because I think this could, go wahoonie-shaped real quick, please, if y'all are disseminating information about this conversation, please include this part, which is that we're all human beings who do the best, generally speaking, that we can. Do people make mistakes? Absolutely. Are you allowed to get mad at them? Absolutely. Should you do death threats? No. But also, I want everyone who is a hater on the internet to really stop for a second and think about what the hate does to you, right? Like, you're hurting another human being, but like, for what purpose? Like, I think it's just kind of, it doesn't make the world a better place. I know that in the moment you feel like, oh, I want to put someone in their place. Like, I'm like, he needs to be taught a lesson. He needs to be taught, he's like, oh my God, like, he did this. And like, and I understand those feelings. I'm not even saying that those feelings are wrong. But also, like, I don't know how else to say this. Like, it's just a bit much. I don't think it's actually helpful in the long run. You guys are doing all this crap to Thor. It's not clear to me that he understands why you're doing it. Okay? And I think that's the first place where we're going to start. Does that make sense, Thor?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I can understand being mad about it at the beginning. Like, I get it. Your favorite streamer's character died. Like, that's going to make you upset. Dude,
that's not what it was about. It's not what it was. It's not anyone's favorite streamer. No one knows who these streamers are. You're the only streamer anyone knew. Dude. It's so crazy. It's about the fact that he puts so much, he talks so crazy about working at Blizzard, about his WoW experience, about all this shit. He fucks up. Not just fucks up, acts like a total prick in a dungeon. Refuses to accept any responsibility. Repeatedly doubles down and makes retarded statements about the games for like a week. Starts threatening people with bans, reports, all this shit. Like, there's so much. It's not just favorite streamer lost their character. No one knows who these streamers are at all.
Mug about it at the time. I get it. I made a mistake in a dungeon. That dungeon didn't go well. Everyone, like, 2 people died. Like, I understand being angry then. I don't understand thousands, and I mean thousands of people 100 days later still on it. Like, that's really weird to me. That's not something I could get, right?
So this is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm wondering if there's some way that I'm going to play around with.
Oh yeah, no, they're piloted now.
That's okay. So I'd encourage everyone who's watching this right now to just give Thor a break.
Yeah, exactly. There were already, and I was aware of this, I had people like Parry, I had people like Rita, I had all sorts of people coming to me and saying, this Pirate Software guy sucks. This guy sucks. I hate his video. Gwal was always talking about him in fucking Spicy. People saying this guy sucks. I hate this guy. Kuihman, talk about how much this guy sucks. And I was like, dude, I don't care enough about this. So everyone was waiting in the wings. So many people were waiting in the wings for an opportunity to go at this guy. And then he just did something that demonstrated why those people hate him in a very obvious and understandable for everyone way. Because the thing is, you could only have, like, I think you could only have a real hatred for him if you understood some of the topics he spoke about, like computer programming, whatever, stuff like that, that would actually drive you insane. And so all those people hated him before. And then when he did something bad in a video game in a way that everyone could have explained to them in a very simple way and can see how his reasoning was wrong. That's what made everyone... oh, this is just how this guy is. This is just what this guy's just like a total piece of shit. And so all of a sudden everyone had their eyes opened and realized it. And that's what's happening.
For just a hot second. And don't just reflexively knee jerk like, okay, like we're gonna talk. Can you see this,
dude?
I can. Yeah.
Dr. K is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is now on stream as well.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. So hopefully this isn't too laggy because I think I'm just doing a ton of screen sharing. And
my UI is not the best for this.
Okay. Hold on. Then here's what I'm gonna do.
It's so good seeing someone finally disrespect this guy a little bit. Oh my God.
I'd like you to do, Thor, because I think this is a bit too much for something going on with my capture. Okay, so what I'd like you to do, Thor, is pull up my stream and
I think
watch...
Dr. K is playing coy. I think Dr. Kill is playing coy, and he has got intel on his assassination target in advance, and he actually understands this far better than he's letting on.
Mute it, but watch the iPad on my stream. Can you do that?
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay, cool. Because when I screen share with you, I just start lagging too much. Or actually, maybe this will... Okay, so let's start with this. Over here.
Mr. Gold was totally right about Dr. K. He's just using his powers for good right now, okay?
Is death threats.
Got it.
Okay. Over here is your actions. And the other thing that I want to do here is, like, we're going to use you as an example. But I think that, like, literally every human being on the planet could benefit and is guilty of what I think you are, quote unquote, guilty of. So I think there's a fundamental thing going on here, which, like, I think once people understand, my hope is that every human being who is watching this, I have a couple of goals. One is to hopefully develop a little bit of compassion towards you. But the main goal that I have here is to try to offer some...
Surely Pirate Software is going to show so much humility, so much self-reflection in this interview that you'll be forced to empathize with him, guys. You're going to be forced to empathize with him. You're forced to feel compassion. You'll get it by the end of this, guys, okay?
Potential, because I don't know if I'm right here, okay? Some potential insight into the gap between what happened to you and the response that you receive. So first thing is that this is disproportionate, right? So...
yeah. I can see that.
What they're responding to is something in here, in between your actions. Like you're evoking a response. So here's your actions. And then there is some kind of equation that maybe has a, let's call it a multiplier. And then over here we end up with harassment. So does this make more sense? Like if we want to understand why this is happening to you, how this is happening to you, there is some Hello? Can you hear me, Thor?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, no, you're roboting out really hard. I think that response was like 15 seconds ago.
Okay. So let me see.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh no.
I wonder if let me try.
Yeah, his internet is dying.
Oh boy. That's terrible. Give me a second. Let me see if I can fix this way. Hold on, chat. Can you hear me now, Thor? Testing?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so I wonder if... let me see, just make sure that...
I can hear you, but I don't think you can hear me in real time.
Okay. I'm going to just change... Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can we count in sync? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so it's about a 5-second delay.
Oh boy. Hold on. Hey, what's going on? Okay, I will do that. Okay, I have stopped. Okay, is this better? Thor? Testing 1, 2, 3.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
You got. Okay, so now we have mostly in time. So that
Okay,
seems
okay,
good.
okay.
It's like less than a second delay.
Okay, cool. So I think this is pretty normal, and we're going to get back to it, okay? So if we look at, let me go back to this. Let's see if this works. And
I'm going to grab your stream and then bring it up on here. So then we can see what you're drawing on my stream.
yeah, give me just 1 second. There we go.
And get to the point.
Okay. Variable here, which is like memeing. There's another variable here, which is like momentum. There's another variable here, which is like content creators hopping on. Content reactions, right? So each of these things is an amplifying effect. Agreed?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask you, in your gut, do you think that this plus these things is sufficient to explain, not say that's justified, but explain what you are going through?
I don't think so. Because I think the internet would have given up about it.
I completely agree. So I think there's a big variable.
It's too long-lived for that.
There's a big variable. You've tapped into something that people really don't like. Okay?
People really don't fuck with you for. Okay? People really don't fuck with you.
And here's what I'm kind of hearing. So I'm going to just like write some things out here, okay? So these are just kind of things that you've said. And I wonder if this will like, if something will click. Okay, so first thing is that there's death threats. That's bad.
Yeah.
There's banning a lot of people.
Is the skulls, the CPS cool?
Ghost dying. There is people.
That wasn't even the first time that happened. By the
trolling you about this.
You got doxxed by Kiwi Farms. You got swatted by Kiwi Farms.
There's people calling you a pedophile.
Something like
there's someone's
called
kid
Blav or something. I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't. This guy's just the biggest victim.
Yeah, the roach thing.
Okay. Right, and then the other thing is there's your like making sense of it. So there's like kind of this Gish Gallop. There's you said something about these people like ... like, you know, these people are like why are they doing this?
It really is just crazy. Like they all do just, but like every single one of these just like grossly narcissistic, like, what would you, I don't know, there's a common thread here. There is a common thread between Pirate Software, Destiny, and Ethan. There's some common thread. Some like cultural commentator, like know-it-all narcissist. That the moment the veil slips a bit, or people they get some kind of just like this like egomaniacal, just like that, some kind of just like jab gets through to them. All of a sudden, it's like total scorched earth. Everyone's trying to kill me. It's just so crazy.
Like you were talking about like what these people.
The best way I put it is, it seems like some people think that they want to be a part of that because it's something that's like greater than themselves. Like they're part of a story, they're part of a narrative. A lot of people.
Brayman and Hassan are my favorite narcissists.
We're seeing
good choice.
it as like being
good choices.
Okay.
There were some of them who kept coming back and saying like, when are you going to jump back in and go and kill the people that called you out in that dungeon? And like they thought it was like a story, and they didn't realize like this is not like a reality show. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Right. So I think there was a lot of that, which I also didn't expect that. That was really, they thought it was like WWE. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Okay. So like you think that they think it's WWE, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They think it's like a show, right? They don't think it's real.
And then, so then you use this car analogy of like, someone else has taken control of the car.
Yeah.
And then I'm not driving. I'm being punished. Someone else is responsible. Does this make sense?
I would say someone else is fully responsible, but I think for that level, yeah.
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 So when I write,
you can't control it. And when I say like someone else has grabbed the wheel, it's more like that's not what happened. Here's what happened. But like, I guess the basic way to put it is like, if you're having a conversation with someone, they make an accusation at you. They say, you're a terrible person because of this thing. And you go, well, I didn't do that thing. And they go, that's just what a person who did this thing would say.
Okay, how much is that? How many claims is that actually happening on? He's got 2 claims that he says are false about him. That he's a pedophile, and that he DDoSed Blizzard. These are not very widespread claims that people believe en masse. This is not why people are upset at you, dude.
Where do you resolve that at that point? Right?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
So do you know people, or have you heard of people who get accused of things and say, I didn't do that thing, but there are other people who continue to insist that they did that thing?
Yeah, it's called Every Day That Ends in Y on the internet.
Okay. What about things that are not on the internet?
I don't know. Like that seems like a pretty normal thing among humans. I see.
Yeah. So has there ever been someone in your life that you felt was like had done something, and you were really confident that they had done something, and they were like, "That's not really how it happened"?
I was confident. Like I felt that before in my life. Yeah. And then I either want like proof or not proof. If I don't have enough proof, then like I'm not gonna. What am I gonna be mad about at that point? I guess is the basic way that I usually feel about that. Like if I have an accusation against somebody, I'm gonna be like, hey, this is how I feel about this. And then they go, hey, well, here's evidence to the contrary. And then we talk it out. Is generally how that is. I think when I was younger, I was a lot worse at that, obviously. It's something I think that you learn over time is like how to conflict resolve in a way that is sane, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. So is sane.
When I say is sane, I mean more like conflict resolve based on things that are provable or not provable, not
right.
just gut feelings.
I'm with you. And how does that work out?
God, it's so annoying. It's just so awful.
Well, when I'm talking to people who are older, it's fine.
Okay.
The issue is there's so many kids online. There's all these kids online harassing me.
Yeah. I find that there's very few people that are younger that can have conversations like that. There are still ones that will. But I find like usually people past their mid-20s is when they start to be able to do conflict resolution better.
Okay.
And want more of a trust but verify kind of approach, which is like, I trust that you're telling the truth.
Yeah, all those kids playing classic WoW. Brother, it's 45-year-old bald men coming into your chat and getting banned.
But I need to verify your claim before I get mad, right?
Okay. So I want you to just, like, we're going to tunnel down into that for a second, okay? So let me just understand this. So, like, people who, your method of conflict resolution sounds super reasonable, right? It's like, if you've got proof, then you push forward. If you don't have proof, you kind of let things go. And then when I ask you, how does that work? And you're like, well, if people are mature, it works great. But if it doesn't work for them, they're immature.
I wouldn't say they're immature.
I know you wouldn't say that. I'm using that word. You use the word young. But I think the implication of that is that there's like a value judgment on people who that works for, and a value judgment on people who that doesn't work for.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, I absolutely do a value judgment. Like when somebody comes in and goes, you're this, this, and this. And I go, no, I'm not. And they're like, and then they just spew a bunch of vitriol. I just ban them, right? Like that value judgment at that point is like, okay, this is a person that is not able to have a normal conversation. They don't want to have a normal conversation. They just want to spew some like garbage. They don't care what's true. They just want to fight about it. And then I don't want them here, right? And that's where I do that kind of evaluation of like, are you cool enough to like, or cool-headed enough to have a conversation, or do you just want to shout what you saw on Reddit? You know, that's really what that is.
So what is so this is the trolling that you receive is fine, but for the people who got upset with you, what is your understanding of the most rational reasons why people got upset with you? Let's forget about the trolls for a second. Huh?
You know, 100%. It's because I was smug, right?
What does that mean?
It means that in this situation, in that moment, it appeared that I didn't feel remorse. And people thought that I didn't apologize. They thought that I didn't care. They thought that I wanted those characters to die or some weird shit with that. But no one stopped to actually ask me. They just saw the clips out of context that made it look like I was a big villain, right? And like, I get that. But if you want to talk about that stuff, if you want to believe that, you should probably just come ask me.
So hold on a second.
Talk about it.
How do you know that they formed their opinions based on the clips?
Because they repeat verbatim the same message over and over again that we can only find on places like Livestream Fail, the Reddit. It is copy-pasted information, the same exact messages, the same exact thing. They had like the same phrases over and over again for this kind of stuff. And the only way that you get that is if people are getting it all from the same source.
Okay.
See, people are just mad because all the clips are out of context.
You've done more than during the retreat? Yeah, and I said so in social posts, but nobody cared about those.
Yeah, and now he's seething at chat. Dude, no, 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 no.
It was one of the weirdest things about it is like, I said, yeah, I could have done more in this. I said everybody made mistakes in there, including myself, but no one cared. They just wanted to continue the drama.
So,
right?
Thor, when I point this stuff out, do you notice anything with all the stuff that I've written out? Like, does anything kind of pop?
Right, this guy's handwriting is obscene, though. I literally can't read this. Maybe I'm retarded, but I literally can't read this.
You are not so much.
Trying to deflect from like personal ownership over something, but I don't think I'm doing that, so I'm not sure.
Why do you say that?
Because you put "I'm not" over on the right side.
Okay.
Yeah. That'd be the only reason for that.
Yeah. So I think I think your assessment is somewhat correct. I think there's like a couple of things that are like blind spots, is what I would call them. So the first is that I've noticed that this is what's so tricky about this. I think that objectively you're correct. I don't think that anyone deserves the degree of harassment that you've received. I hope people stop. I really wish they stop, and I mean that genuinely. And at the same time, I notice just the way that I hear you speak, I notice certain blind spots or narratives that are constructed. So the first thing that
I'm nervous about talking about it, to be clear. Like, it's a defense mechanism entirely because of the fact that this has been going on for so long.
Yo, thank you for the $6.99 Canadian, Lex. Thank you, Lex, for the Shiba Inu dog, like bowing its head. Bowing its head is a super sticker. Thank you, Lex.
Long. It involves all of my staff. It involves my family. It involves my general well-being. It involves my physical security at events. It involves all that stuff. And it makes me nervous to talk about it. So it's hard to articulate in a time like that without, I don't know. It's just hard to articulate, if that makes sense.
Okay. So that begs two questions. One important one, which is, are you sure that we should be talking about it?
Well, I mean, it's already too late.
No, it's not.
I'd rather talk about it.
No, it's not too late. We can stop. We can stop right this second.
I would rather talk about that, and
okay.
The reason why is because I find, and this is a very serious part, right?
Okay, dude. He literally he shouldn't talk about this. He isn't capable of talking about this in a way that will make people see his side or bring people around. He literally is not capable of it. It is the right decision when Dr. K offers you the out to say, yes, I will be off-ramping from this conversation, right? That would be the right decision. But he is so egotistical. He is going to now try and spin more of a victim narrative, just try and keep bringing Dr. K to his side.
It's not too late. We can stop. We can stop right this second.
I would rather talk about that, and
okay.
The reason why is because I find, and this is a very serious part, right? I find that if you don't talk about this, it's not going to help other people, right? Like, I get it. I'm going
it's
through
for
it right
other
now.
people. Dude, I could not have in my wildest dreams have predicted that's what he was at. I literally would never have thought of that. I never would have thought of that. That's so crazy. I could not have even come up with that. That's so wild.
Stop right this second.
I would rather talk about that, and
okay.
The reason why is because I find, and this is a very serious part, right? I find that if you don't talk about this, it's not going to help other people, right? Like, I get it. I'm going through it right now, but
he's like Jesus.
I think needs to be talked about because the
guys, he's
amount
like Jesus.
Of hate
he's on the cross right now.
From this isn't just going to happen to me.
Okay,
I know.
I agree. I think that you are pretty unlucky here, but I think you are the unlucky person who has tapped into something very fundamental in human psychology that has like triggered the shit out of people.
Likely, yeah.
Okay, so I want you to notice what just happened. Okay, so it's now that you're insisting that we talk about it. Fair enough. I said, hey, I'm noticing something about your narrative. And what was your answer?
That I was like deflecting.
What do you mean?
It's unless we're talking about something else.
No. What we just talked about. I said, hey, I'm noticing something about your narrative. And then you said what?
Yeah. That I was like deflecting or trying to push off blame onto somebody else.
Okay. Yes. And then what did you say after that?
I don't remember.
Okay. So then what you said is, the reason I'm doing it is because I'm anxious.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, 100% anxious.
Right? I'm worried.
There we go. Okay.
Right? So the interesting thing is that, like, you're doing something really interesting, which is that, like, you provide a very...
there has been more Pirate Software stuff sort of simmering. Not a whole lot, nothing big. But for some reason, he's doing this interview with Dr. K, where he's decided to relitigate the whole thing.
Logical reason, which is very compassion-inducing for why you are doing the thing that you're doing. Right? So, like, who in their right mind, when you say, yeah, the narrative that I'm creating is because I'm afraid for my physical well-being, like,
yes.
How is that challengeable?
It's not.
100%.
Yeah.
So I think what you are doing is something that is, I don't know what word to use, has a negative valence to it. You're doing something that's bad, and the way that you respond to it makes it unchallengeable. Like, you're doing this thing over and over and over again.
Okay.
Right? So the way that you're...
That would be
negative
about that, though.
What?
That's what I'm trying to understand. I said, what about that is negative?
That's a very excellent question. So now we get to something really interesting about human psychology. So if I'm pissed at you and you take away my reason to be pissed at you, what do?
You get pissed, more pissed.
Absolutely. So how...
So you're saying that basically it's created a bunch of anger, and that by having a situation and talking about it and showing like, hey, this is what's going on, it's created a scenario where people are more angry because they don't have a vent. They don't have a way of getting it out.
It's not, dude. He literally can't frame anything in a way that doesn't, like, totally 100% align with his view of himself and the events. Like, he literally cannot describe it in a way that makes him look bad in any aspect. He's saying right now, he says that all he's doing is explaining what's going on. No, that's not all you did. You're using the idea of death threats as like oh, well, you can't be mean to me anymore.
Basically, it's created a bunch of anger, and then by having a situation and talking about it and showing like, hey, this is what's going on, it's created a scenario where people are more angry because they don't have a vent. They don't have a way of getting it out.
That is where we're... Hold on. Let me just fix this real quick.
That's where we're not agreeing. That's why we're not seeing eye to eye, Thor. Jason.
Because I wonder if you're going quiet again, so I just jacked you up. So I think that is the first step to it, right? So there's something that there's something that people... Deflecting is maybe a good word. There's something that you're deflecting that then triggers people to, like, because they're not getting what they want from you. Does that make sense?
Yes. So
okay.
There's an alarm going off.
So now the question kind of becomes, like, I don't know if this sort of makes sense, but I think when I hear your story, what I hear is, and this is what's so tricky about it, is like, I think everything you've said is logical because you kind of base things on sort of proof, right? But I'm noticing that, like, the way that you accept responsibility is like 1% of what your narrative is. So you say that you were smug.
Yeah.
Right?
I was super smug about it.
And I think that feels like a tiny, tiny, tiny part of your narrative.
I think it's only a tiny part of the narrative because it's the flashpoint. It's the moment that started, right?
Sure.
So it's hard to make that larger in this story. But yeah, I was
no.
smug.
I mean,
was smug about it,
I think it sounds to me like.
I mean, have you considered that you're like always smug? Have you considered that you're like perpetually smug?
Like now, I'm going to say something that's like this isn't. I don't know what better word to say. I think it's not the flashpoint. I think it's the fuel.
Okay.
So I
you think that was a catalyst for something else?
I think this sounds judgmental, but I think the way that you responded in that moment, so you said early on, you made some kind of like joke, right? Where you, like someone said run, and then you said, I don't want to piss them off.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make a joke instead of saying, bro, I ran because you told me to run. You remember when you said that?
Yeah.
So I think that there's like little things that you're doing that, so if I made the call to run, and then
there's no way Dr. K is about to deconstruct this WoW play to him. Oh my god, this is awesome.
You ran, and then I was like, bro, why are you running? And then you say you made the call to run. How is that? Why would you not say that? Right? Like the reason I'm doing this is because I was listening to you.
Yeah, no, legitimately, that's the one thing, and I've talked about this before, is like if I would have just turned around and be like, you told us to. If I would have just said that, I feel like this whole thing would not have been like this.
I agree. So I think that the interesting thing here is that I suspect that there are a dozen other things like that.
It wouldn't have... Yeah, but this whole thing... No, it wouldn't be this whole thing wouldn't have happened if he just said you told us to. That wouldn't have sufficed. Because he was asked to come back. They said, like, yes, the call to run was made. But that was very, very quickly. It was said, no, don't run, actually. And he, like, refused to play his class properly, refused to use any of his mana regen. Like, we obviously went over it all earlier. Which we went over that whole fucking play earlier. It was fucking terrible. It's not just that one response. It's not just about that.
So just the way that you're...
It was like there were so many mistakes. Not even mistakes. Poor plays that were done intentionally for his benefit at the expense of others. And then retarded statements he made about it that downplayed his responsibility and tried to place burden on other people. That it's not just one statement. It's like the whole way he acted throughout that entire dungeon, or the last bit of the dungeon.
Narrative sounds to me, and let me know if like this is rubbing you the wrong way, or like you think I'm an asshole, or if this is like please let me know. But I think that something about this story has something that I would call the missing reasons.
Okay.
I'm not saying...
For me, it's whatever it is, it's a blind spot.
Yeah.
Because like for me, I'm just like...
Clearly.
This was me being smug, and it exploded out of control. And for me on this side, it just feels like a lot of content creators leaped onto it because it got popular to talk about. It became kind of like an issue, and it generated a lot of views.
Yeah,
and it just kind of went nuts.
And so I want you to just pay attention to that for a second, because you're doing it again. Why did this blow up?
Because I was smug?
No.
I don't understand what you're trying to say.
Why did it amplify? Who's to blame for the amplification?
The amplification I could generally say is Reddit and other content creators. Like, I feel very steadfast in that opinion on that. I don't think this would have reached the audience that it did or become as large as it was on the internet without that. So you're talking over 100,000 viewers worth of people.
Yeah, so that I think is 100% true and is indicative of what the problem is, right?
Yeah, but it's not just like content creators can't just like make this be a thing. There has to be a market for that content, and there's a reason why there's a market for that content, dude.
Because what happens, what I'm noticing that you're doing is like every step of the way, you made one tiny mistake, but the way that you are reacting, I don't think a fire can get this big without a content creator's interaction. And the way that you're responding to each of these situations is only fanning the flames. And I think like you're saying this, right? Like you've tried everything. Like you've tried...
I've tried doing nothing.
You've tried doing nothing. You've tried doing everything. And nothing seems to be working, which I know seems like nothing is working, but if you are consistently getting the same result and you are altering certain variables... in that equation, what that implies is that there's one variable that's not being altered.
Yeah, and that's why I look to the outside source, because I'm like, I've altered the way they interact
But
online.
the outside source is relatively consistent. because people go through drama all the time. And maybe this is a leopard's ate my face moment. Maybe this is a moment where I can say this now, and a month from now, when I'm in your position, I'm going to be like, holy shit, was I wrong? Right? Like maybe this is not the way, but your whole point is that the amount of hatred that you're receiving is disproportionate, not only to what you did, but is even outside of the norm of what other content creators experience. Like, yes. I've been...
He's saying it's uniquely bad. He's saying it's like a uniquely bad form of harassment. Dude, yeah, he is closing... Dr. Kill is closing in. Dr. Kill is looking for number 2 here.
Yeah.
Second scalp,
I've had people
let's go.
Get on my case and stuff like that. And then stuff usually calms down, right?
Yeah,
For most of us... We all get these kinds of problems where people like are really mean to us. I don't think they understand. No snowflake thinks it's responsible for the avalanche. But what I see is a guy who is, everyone thinks they're snowflakes and you're getting swamped by an avalanche. They don't understand that. I think people on the internet don't now know how to understand it until you are on the receiving end of hate from thousands upon tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands and people who are just piling on. Once the bully starts kicking you when you're down, the internet is like 1,000 other people who are like going to get in a lick because it feels good. And I think you're doing something that is like absolutely hitting a trigger point. And I suspect that what you're getting into, just with the way that you describe things, it's very much like I did this tiny thing and then all of this stuff is happening to me that I don't have any influence over. And objectively,
so this is I hate constantly comparing it to other stuff, but this is like so common with like these online situations. Like Brianna Wu is like so similar to this, right? With the Gamergate stuff, where it's like maybe there is like, you know, there is harassment, 100%. There is like some harassment that goes like way too far, and it's like, you know, people calling SWAT teams or whatever. But when you let that your victimhood become the center of your narrative, that's always going to rub people the wrong way every time.
People are wrong. Objectively, I am correct. And when someone does that and says, I am objectively wrong, I mean, I am objectively right and you are objectively wrong, this is not what happened, this is what really happened, and by the way, all this shit is happening to me now, it's like a very, like, it's a very, like, does you kind of get what I'm saying? I'm trying very hard not to say certain words.
I don't see it that way, though. Like,
I know you
don't.
don't.
As like an objective, objective, this, objective, that. I see it as it's more of a deep emotional response from people that don't care about me or they don't care about resolving the situation. They want it to continue in some way.
Yeah, so
and
I
like,
think
I get it, but like I don't want to be a part of your story. Right? It's like
right. So I think that's what's fueling the flames. You don't see it that way.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know how that.
Right. So when I live,
why would you care for so long?
We'll get to that in a second. But I think that this is another thing, which is that you're thinking a lot. Okay. So we're going to talk about something called mentalization. Okay. So when you imagine what is going on in someone else's head, I don't think you are doing nothing you're saying is incorrect, but I think everything you're saying is pretty incomplete. Right? So you're saying like, okay, there's a parasocial aspect. You're completely right. Like you're right about everything you're saying. I just think the main mistake, if you can call it that, the cognitive process that is really getting you in trouble is incompleteness. So
I don't understand.
I know.
You drew this
out.
Dude, Dr. K is actually based here. He does no. PirateSoftware was right to talk about people wanting to kill him by any means necessary. He was right to open talking about that. That's what Dr. K is like. Absolutely, he's trying to take this guy out. What the fuck?
Call it
dude.
That. The cognitive process that is really getting you in trouble is incompleteness. So
I don't understand.
I know. I know. I'm like 99% confident that this is going to be very hard.
Dude, this is fucking gold. This is gold.
And I think this is why you're in this situation, because this is like, it's like, you're like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know. I've tried everything. what they're saying is just not true. The reason that I know that these people are not valid is because they copy pasta each other, right? Do you see how much?
No, I think that's not everyone, right? There are some people that are just upset because they saw me as like some pure holier than thou content creator, which that's not realistic. I'm a human being. I think
hold on.
Some people that
are, whoa. No, I don't agree with that.
No, I definitely do, because there are some that have messaged me with stuff like that. There are definitely people that felt that.
Yeah, I know they felt that. But I don't think that you're an ordinary content creator. I don't think you're an ordinary human being. I think you're a superhuman being.
What?
Yeah. How do you think about yourself?
I don't know. I don't, generally.
I think therein lies another problem. Right? So if you don't think about... I know it's weird, like I'm sending you a lot of weird stuff. Right? So I think that if you don't think about yourself on a regular basis, the version of yourself that you will have on your mind that then projects out to the outside world is not going to be an ordinary human being. I think you project exceptionalism.
Uh-oh. How is someone going to react to this?
The world is not going to be an ordinary human being. I think you project exceptionalism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure I understand, but
I can.
You don't understand at all. You don't understand that at all.
Understand that. So I think that this is going to be a situation where it's going to be very hard, and I'm going to do my best. So the first thing is I'm not right. But I think that there's something about the way that you construct narratives. There's something about the way that you are objective, but other people are subjective. How do you know that you're...
Dude, he's actually just deconstructing his whole fucking personality now. No way.
You're not the subjective one, and they're not the objective ones.
Dude, this is actually... This is like actually stripping apart like why he pisses people off so bad, so well. It's actually so... Dude, this is awesome.
I absolutely am subjective. I don't think that that's the case at all. There's no way that everything that I say is objective. That would be ridiculous. I think that would be absurd.
And if we go back and listen to the conversation that we've had from now, would we be able to predict that's the way that you feel about yourself based on how you've been talking?
I don't know.
I think the answer is going to be no. Right? So when I ask you, why do they feel this way? How do you know that they're wrong? You say, well, objectively, you rely on proof. And if you're dealing with people who are mature enough, then they understand that. But if they're people that are younger than you, that means that they don't, these young kids nowadays are not proof oriented. There's parasocial. And the tricky thing about this is that you're not wrong. So I would agree with...
Ultimate Grape Review mentioned, Oreo Eater crying in the club.
I saw, okay, I've said this before, I appreciate the $5, hugely appreciate the $5. I saw a user on Twitter earlier tag me, J-Stalk, and Pretty Tony under a clip they made of the Ethan Hassan debate. Because they saw a moment in the debate, and they thought, wow, I need people to see this and see what I've got to think about it. So they wrote a little paragraph, a little blurb, and posted the clip on Twitter, and then in a reply, they tagged me, J-Stalk, and Pretty Tony. I cannot recommend enough to you people. If you're watching another stream where something's happening, and you want me to know about it, the best way that is going to piss me off the least, that is going to make me think the highest of you, is if you go and do that. Okay? Tag me on Twitter, put it in the farm, do something like that, but run a Twitter account instead of just doing chat bouncing, instead of chat hopping. Spend your time in a more productive and content-oriented way. It pushes things along. When you do stuff like that, people don't realize this. Clipping and posting stuff to Twitter with editorialized captions doesn't just like help whatever content you want to talk about get more spoken about. It can push it along. You can make a clip that presents something a certain way, then someone gets annoyed about it, or someone's supporting it, and then someone else gets annoyed about it, and you push content along. So do that instead of chat hopping, okay?
every single one of the statements that you've made. But I think that
But it's a defense mechanism for that. 100%.
A defense mechanism meaning
I'm
what?
being for real.
No, it's a defense mechanism on my end. And the reason why I did that is because it's gone on too long. And it's gotten to that point where it's hard for me to have a response that is not an emotional response. Like, we talked about this before, is like, whenever I feel like I'm having an emotional response, I just stop and I walk away for a moment, come back to it. But with this, I'm getting back into that old habit of like, I need to deflect this, I need to diffuse this. This is kind of a wall in front of this. I don't even want to, and you just kind of...
You should clip it, post it on Twitter, tag me in replies, post it in my Discord, post it on my Reddit, post it on any other Reddits that might be interesting. You just be posting. Always be ABP. Always be posting. Okay, guys? That's what it's about. Always be posting.
Put it up there and walk away from the scenario. And that's literally what that is.
Yes, I'm close personal friends with anyone who's posting clips in a way that I like, okay?
Here's my evidence. And the reason why it ends up being, here's my evidence, here's how I feel people are, this is the objective fact of this, is because we've had tens of thousands of people bringing that up, and it's just turned into like a callus, if that makes sense.
ABC, always be clipping. Always be clipping. 100 ABC, yes.
It's a lot of sense. How are you feeling about this call, by the way? Like, is this okay?
This is fine.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is fine.
So I think this is what you're... So here is what has contributed to the situation, which doesn't mean that you did something wrong. I don't think you're bad or anything like that. But I think that this tendency to walk away from your emotions and lean into logic, I don't think works very well. So I think, like, remember how we said that something that you're doing about the way that you respond to this is like triggering people harder. They're
Kuihman clip his dinner.
getting angrier and angrier and angrier. They're not letting up. Whereas like most content creators, people basically move on to trolling someone else. So anytime a content creator, like reaches out to me and they're like, hey, I'm really struggling, I'm like, the best thing that you can do is wait till they move on, because the internet is an ugly mob, and this is the other thing that you're running into, which we haven't talked about. I do think that what you project is exceptional, and one of the things that the internet absolutely loves is to take an exceptional person and make them bad. So we love tearing down people who are good, and we love redemption arcs as human beings, right? There's like, this person thought they were the best thing since sliced bread, and we're going to fucking tear them down. I've been on the receiving end of that a lot. And then the flip side of that...
I think that makes a lot of sense. And to be clear, I don't think of that about myself. Like, at all. Like, I'm constantly going over anything that I can do right, anything that I can do wrong. I remember all of my own mistakes and beat the shit out of myself for them whenever I do that, just like I feel like a lot of people do.
I believe you do that for the stuff that you are aware of.
Yes, you
can't do it otherwise, right? Like, how
things that I'm aware of, for sure.
100%. So I think
I don't think I'm better than other people. I do think that it's funny because you key on that. There's a lot of people that brought that up, and it's like, I never said
he's trying. Why don't you just, hey, PirateSoftware, stop struggling so much. Let Dr. K work his magic. Dr. K's operating on you. Dr. Kill is operating on you right now, Jason. Okay, why don't you stop struggling? Stop fighting.
But you'll see there's a number of people that are in there that are getting like banned for this shit right now. It's like they come in and they're like, did you know that he worked at Blizzard for 7 years? Like, yeah, that was my career, and I'm proud of that. So of course I'm going to talk about that, because it gives context to talk about other things around the games industry, which is what we do on the stream.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes the things that I talk about in regards to those types of things is misconstrued as arrogance or boasting, when in reality I'm just trying to give context.
So that is the problem right there. So I want you to listen to this phrase.
Sure.
This gets misconstrued as arrogance, but in reality, it's this. Yeah. That is the most arrogant statement on the planet, bro.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
Like, tell me I'm wrong.
Okay. I don't see it that way, but all right.
Right? So, you don't see it that way. You're wrong.
No.
Right? I'm right. So you're subjectively, you're thinking you have blind spots. You're wrong. Like, I'm objective and you're subjective.
No.
This is not the way it's perceived. This is really the way it is.
I think that turns into, I guess, conversational PvP for the sake of it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. It absolutely turns into conversation.
Dude, that's the gamer language. I hate it. I hate it. Dr. Kane is fucking AoE healing. Conversational PvP. Get me out. Get me out.
What you're doing.
When I say I'm doing this for context?
Yes, when you're saying other people get it wrong, and here's the reality of it. Like, go back and like we can like rewind the stream and just listen to the structure of your sentence.
That is me being adversarial against people that are trying to make it out like that is an arrogance thing, that it is a boasting thing, like I'm trying to push somebody else down. That is absolutely being adversarial against that kind of speech. 100%.
I'm not. I don't think it's so. I think there's a construction in your speech, and there's a theme. If we listen, I know it's kind of hard, but you do things that are objective, right?
And subjective. I'm a human being.
Which ones do you represent? Which ones do we hear when we hear you talk?
I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. So, for example, if we were to code statements as subjective or objective. Okay?
Okay.
Like, so coding a subjective statement is, let's say, like, I'll just give you an example. You know, why are people getting mad at you? Or you said something about, you know, I rely on proof. So if I were to code that.
It doesn't mean you don't.
I know.
Mean, I feel like somebody could take it that way, but that's not.
No. That's
he's not... so defensive. He can't just let Dr. K explain what he's saying. Oh my god.
I'm not going there. So if we were to code that gets coded as objectively, right? That's an objective statement.
Okay, sure.
So
the ferret law is this guy's a furry whose persona is a ferret, and he used to make ferrets or something on Second Life or some shit. And he runs a ferret rescue, and he's always crying about his ferrets dying.
Here's a subject.
And people make his ferret furry name is Moldavius Fig Tree.
Statement. I feel like this is unfair.
Okay.
Have you said that at any point?
Yes.
Over this conversation?
I feel like I have said that because I was talking about the response is not proportional.
There we go. That's hold on. No. That's beautiful. That is the response is not proportional.
I never played Second Life. I was never a Second Life person. Ever.
That is not a statement of subjectivity.
The only thing I know about Second Life is these videos.
Hello.
Hello, yes. Are you the manager here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I need a bit of assistance with something. My son, Hank, he went missing in this area recently. I believe inside your establishment. And I was wondering if you'd let me in so I could search for my son, Hank.
I'm sorry. I can pull up the roster on here. And
Aiden, that's an easy timeout. Okay, I know you're joking. You're still getting time.
Well, I know for a fact that you're wrong because my son is called Hank and he was here.
The only Hank I see is yours. Like Hinkle Big Boy, you're the only one that I see.
No, Hank Big Boy, my son. He's here.
He's not here.
Please don't lie to me. I know you're hiding my son in here.
No, actually I'm not, thank you.
Yes, actually you are. My son is in your building. If you continue to hide my son from me, I will take you to court. To Second Life Court. Is there a Second Life Court?
I have no idea if there's a Second Life Court, but he's not here in our establishment or on our property. We don't allow.
If there is a Second Life Court, you are going to it, okay? I will see you there, because my son is in your building. I know that for a fact. I have legal evidence. If you don't give me... I have custody of my son 3 days a week, and if you do not let me access my son in your building, I'm shutting this place down.
Hit nearby and let me see your son. Show me.
No, I can't.
If you cannot hit nearby and show me, then to me you have no proof. And if your child is here on this particular property, it's no child's play at all.
Where is nearby? How do I find this? I'm new.
It's not on... It's not... How do you hit nearby?
Exactly. That's what I'm wondering. Just
what program are you using? What viewer?
secondlife.com. But that doesn't matter. Can you just help me find my son?
Your son should not be on this sim. We have no children's play on this sim at all.
He is in this large building. He's stuck in there. He's been trapped there for weeks now. And you know that's the case. So let me in there.
No. I apologize for you, but no. You want to take me to Second Life Court, go get a warrant and a police officer.
I'm not finding it in this is a tangent, retard.
I will do exactly that.
Okay.
We're saying that's all I know about Second Life. To be fair, we probably move on now.
I can't.
Storm is get in contact with Linden Labs, report their names, and
I will report you for son stealing. My son is in your building, and you know it.
Of the lab and
my
tell
baby
them
boy,
to contact SF.
my darling baby
this
boy
is a
Hank.
joke and they're trying to play a game.
Wow.
So boot them off the lab.
How
get
dare
their
you?
names
How
and
dare
report
you?
them.
How dare you?
That's it.
How dare you? How dare
Do
you
what you
steal
gotta
my
do.
grandson?
This is my dad.
Like I said,
dare
I don't even know you. I probably wouldn't like
That is a statement of fact.
Okay.
Do you understand how I'm coding it?
I guess I could see that. I mean, like, that's me making an objective statement when I guess somebody else could say, no, it is proportional, you deserve this, sort of a thing. I guess the thing is I just don't agree with that stance, so I state it in the way that I do, right? With that. And I don't know if that's wrong, though, because I feel like there's a limit that seems sane. And by sane, I mean correct and, like, not...
Absolutely,
like,
man. There's absolutely a limit that seems sane.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be different for everybody.
No.
Whatever their version is.
No, it's not. Because you didn't say there's a limit, because you used the word sane. Sane is like an objective thing, right? Sane is like crazy, insane versus sane. That's not a subjective thing. That is an objective kind of assessment, right? So, like, if we say that someone is insane, we're not saying that they're subjectively insane. We're saying that they are objective. Like, those words are about...
You're saying that they're detached from reality. Or if you're saying the person's insane, you're basically setting it up that you're in touch with reality and they are not, obviously.
Dimension.
But I'm not sure I understand the direction of this.
No, you haven't missed
I think the reason why is because when I'm talking about these things...
Yeah, so I've been told is that he cries. I've been told that he cries in this.
This is too far, is because the statements that people are making are really fucked up. Like, I do think that it is correct to make an objective statement to be like, you shouldn't be sending me pictures of my house from Google Maps. Right?
I agree.
I disavow that. That's terrible.
So great, great. So let's take a step back for a second. Are you sure this is okay?
Yeah. No, okay. I guess I just don't understand the direction of subjectivity versus objectivity.
I'm with you. Like, so I'm slow playing it. So let me be explicit. So remember, this goes back to what you are dealing with is disproportionate, right? So there's a variable that's missing. Something about the way, and now I'm making an objective statement, okay? It's not about blame. This is about assessing the way that you are existing on the internet and the response that happens to you. There's something in here objectively that is disproportionate.
Yes.
Okay? And this is completely, and even if we say, oh, here's the reason and you're to blame for it, I don't think that there's any reason that we can come up with that justifies other people's behavior. Does that make sense?
On some of these cases, yes.
Yeah, okay. So...
Yeah, I think there is a limit.
Now what I'm trying to get into is precisely this, which is your... And this sounds arrogant, but I'm going to say... So it's clear to me that you have blind spots about this. Because something about the way that you are navigating, you have a rubric for how you interact with people. And something about that rubric is fucking triggering people. So what we're trying to do... So how did you feel when I said that?
I thought it was funny because, like, I guess for me, it's a kind of a dumbing down of the scenario, right? Of like, yeah, it's triggering people, but it's so much more than that. But yeah.
Okay.
I think it's leading them to do things that I don't even understand the reasoning behind it on a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
Right. So I think the end game that I have here is to hypothesize what could be responsible for that gap. So in my experience, when something like this happens to someone like you, I think you're a decent dude. I think it sounds like you made a smug comment and you ran away from the raid. It's a fucking hardcore raid. So I don't know what people were expecting. You know, like when you play WoW hardcore and you raid, sometimes things go bad and people die. Like that's just what happens in a WoW hardcore raid. Like what were people expecting? But I think what you're tapping into some energy that is like that I think you're blind to. You don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. And my point is that the reason it doesn't make sense to you is because of the way that you were looking at the world. Which is that if you pay attention to your statements are coded very objectively. And so then what happens is once you start looking at the world in terms of proof or not proof, I don't know if you're right, I don't know if you're wrong, but the question then becomes, how do two people that think that they are both operating based on reality, who disagree, how do we patch that up? How do we bridge that gap?
I mean, generally what I see with that kind of stuff is the way that I like to do it is you kind of present evidence and stuff, you talk about it, you find out if you were right or if they were right. And sometimes you're both wrong, right? Like it just comes out to that. You learn something, you move on. Sometimes when it's like, I find it to be disingenuous, right? And I will use that as an objective term.
Yep.
I find it to be disingenuous to have a person come in that is not interested in a resolution, that just wants to cause a hateful situation.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's most of what I'm getting with this. And when they can't get me, it makes them angrier. When they can't hurt me, it makes them angrier. When they can't do anything about it, they can't shut down the stream, it makes them angrier. We get tons of people that'll come in and say things like, people still watch this guy. It's like, yeah, we still have a massive community. People love, hanging out here and doing stuff. So like, I feel like when I make those objective statements, it's because I go, this is how I have this situation for communication. And if your only reason to be here is to cause problems, it's not going to be compatible. But if you want, and I tell people all the time, it's like, if you want to talk about this, we can talk about it. But if you're just here to copy paste something off of Reddit, cause a scene, and then get banned, like, we just don't care. I'm just going to ban you.
Okay. So I think what makes this,
if that makes sense.
Yeah. So I think what makes this really challenging is not that you're wrong. I think what makes this hard is that you're right. Okay. So when you're wrong,
disarming him,
it is easy to show a correction. Right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When you're right, but incomplete, it becomes harder to show a correction. So like, let's say that I'm trying to think of an analogy. It's like if I develop a product that is crappy, that is successful, that happens to be successful, it is way harder to understand how that crappy product is crappy. Does that make sense? And I'm not trying to analogize you to a crappy product. I'm really just using this as an example of I mean, I love your content. Like, I really do. I think you're a great guy. Like, I don't think you deserve this.
The stroking, man. The ego stroking is crazy.
In your corner, okay? But you see what I mean? I'm just using that as an example of, like, if you make a crappy video game, right? And then, like, people play it, that doesn't make the video game good. And trying to explain to someone, hey, I know y'all think that Oblivion is an amazing game. I'd give it a 10 out of 10, but Oblivion is the start of the decline of the Elder Scrolls series. Oblivion is the first step in the wrong direction to what ended up as Starfield. That is something for a lot of people to have difficulty understanding. Right? Because Oblivion was a great game. It's a 10 out of 10. But if you want to...
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Devin Nash sucks this guy's dick. This guy and Devin Nash like the same guy.
Understand the glory that was Elder Scrolls, you have to play Morrowind. And
chat is very divided on this topic.
The chat is wrong. Like, they're wrong. It's okay. Sometimes I get to be right and they get to be wrong.
It's a very objective statement.
Absolutely, right? So, and how do people respond to that?
I mean, it depends on the context, right? I think that there are moments where you can make statements like that and it's funny.
So I think what makes this hard in your situation is that everything that you say is correct. I just think it's incomplete. So what I'm basically getting a sense of is that you tend to, since you move away from some of this, like, emotional energy and you lean in. So the first thing that happens is once you suppress your, like, emotional circuitry, your emotions still influence your logic.
Okay.
Okay,
I can see that. I think in times of deep stress, that gets more so.
100%. It gets very, very, very good, right? So it's not that the emotions stop. It's just that we start dissociating from them. Dissociation doesn't mean shut down. It means unaware. And then what happens is the emotions will shape our logic.
Yo, thank you, Lex. Thank you for the 5 gifted memberships. It's hugely appreciated, Lex. Thank you. Thank you.
And it's not that they're illogical. It's that it becomes more selective.
Sure. I can see that. That makes sense.
And so I think what's going on is like the story that you tell me has what I would call missing reasons. So I know that's confusing. There's a great post about it that I think a therapist made many years ago. But sometimes when people tell stories and like bad things are happening to them,
posture, dude.
They are leaving out things that evoke the response of the other people. So when you tell a story that other people are just like crazy and it's the internet and it's parasocial and people are reacting, there's something missing there. I don't think you can evoke. I mean, it's very possible that you are just incredibly, incredibly unlucky. I don't think that that is a good attitude to take. I don't think
it's good to script you. No. I think that removes any chance of fixing that.
Yeah. I suspect that there is something around your smugness. I suspect there is something around the way that you perceive yourself as ordinary, but you act anything but. Maybe even some degree of, because I don't think you're ordinary. Like, I don't think that's objectively correct. Like, I think you're exceptional. Like, if we look at human beings, I think you're exceptional. Like, if we look at the range of various things, you are not ordinary. If we look at the bell curve of content creators on Twitch, you are not ordinary. So
I would say in terms of that, maybe, but like, I just feel like a normal dude.
Yeah,
I feel like a normal dude that sits in a chair for 12 hours a day.
It's like so clear. That's not how you think of yourself. Obvious. It's so obvious that you don't think. Like, it's so clear that it's a lie constructed about how he views himself to try and dispel the idea that he's some egotistical lunatic. He's just like, if I just say that I think I'm a normal dude, everyone will believe it. No, it comes through in the way you act, retard.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think there are parts of you that are, and it sounds like you sometimes push these away. I think there's a lot more there. So you said, you know, I feel like a normal dude. I think that makes sense. But I think there's a lot of feelings there about being a normal dude that maybe are not super conscious.
Okay.
Right?
I'm not sure I understand, but I think that's kind of the point. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the challenge that I have is that I'm making statements that are unfalsifiable. Right? So if I say subconsciously, you don't think you're a normal dude, how can you ever disprove that? So this is one of the frustrations with my profession, is that sometimes people like myself will make these statements, right? So I do this carefully, where like, I'm not saying this is correct. I think it's worthwhile for you to explore how you construct a narrative, what people, and this is where I think what happens is when people react to you, you look at the objectivity. I think that's a mistake, because nothing you perceive will be objective. The human brain is not capable of objective perception by definition.
I do think there is an objective reality, and I do think that's something that there is value in striving for in many situations, because something I don't like is perception is reality. And I know that perception is reality for the grand majority of situations. It has nothing to do with the objective reality of what is truth of the situation, what actually has occurred or anything like that. It's how do I feel about what occurred? Well, and that's something I've always felt. And that's kind of like a big thing for me. Yeah.
Great. I love it. I agree with you 100%. And I would love to talk about that with you maybe today, maybe on a different day, just about the philosophy side of it. But I think my point is, so you're right. So like, there's an objective reality, agree. And perception is not objective reality. So when you look at objective reality and you conclude that this is what really happened, where are we? Is that objective reality or is that your perception?
That is my perception.
Very
100%.
good. Right?
When I talk about it, I think the disconnect is this. When I talk about something and I say it with, this is what happened, that's from my perspective. And I think maybe I'm not doing enough in terms of explaining this is from my perspective. This is how I feel about it, because I don't talk that way generally.
Yeah, that's not what you should be doing. So I think this is key point. This is exactly it. So I think this solution space seems hard for you to grasp.
No, I do want to talk about the woman who's asking for now. She's got 300k and is now asking for $1 million total because she got doxxed after she called a 5-year-old the N-word in a public park. She's been given $300,000 by conservatives online because she got doxxed over calling a 5-year-old the N-word. Harder.
You shouldn't be further explaining yourself. You should be further trying to understand why people feel this way about you. Right? So this is not about what is objective. It is about
I don't know what the 5-year-old did. We need to look into that. I think there is, you know, if it wouldn't make it right, but if her kid was getting like fucking beat up or some shit or bullied or something, her kids are kind of, I don't want to say anything about her kids, but look, her kids, the black kid was going through her kid's stuff. Or her stuff. She's saying she wasn't right. I'm joking. That's a total joke. That's a total joke. It's obviously like, it's totally obscene to call a 5-year-old the N-word. Even if they're going through your stuff or stealing stuff. And you shouldn't get 300k for it, but like, am I like, it's just like you're crazy. She is obviously crazy. But like, the kid was stealing her stuff. Like, that's annoying. At least. At very least annoying. Legitimately very annoying. I don't care they're giving her money, but people are pretending they aren't just doing it reflexively to the Metcalf shit. I didn't even make the Metcalf connection. Really. I think the point, really, the thing is that they're not actually doing it. They're not doing it on any moral grounds. They're doing it because they support using the N-word against black kids, basically. That's fundamentally. They just like that. That's why they're giving her money. I don't know that I have that much judgment on the woman, to be honest. And look, like, she's winning. She won, frankly. The aftermath is on film. Her being confronted is on film. Oh, should we read detail for this? Someone send me the video quickly. Has anyone got it on hand? Someone send this to me quickly. There's a tweet about it here. It's in the replies. Brief detour to just watch this video. Oh, wait. I see people posting... No, yeah. I see people posting pictures of, what's his fucking name? The black guy who stabbed Metcalf. In the replies. So, yeah. I think some... Just like this. God, it's just so gay. Dude, no joke. I was at work this morning wondering if I could hoax an event like this without having a white friend's life ruined. I'm still thinking about it. You thinking about doing a Jussie Smollett? Thinking about doing a Jussie Smollett for $500,000? Yes, I'm not kidding. Let's go. Lose them their money. What's her name? Shiloh or some shit, right? Where is she? Where's this fucking video?
You call him a...
Whoa! Stop! Whoa! 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 Whoa!
The fuck you talking Did you call...
He's black. He's black. I disavow that. He's black. Okay. It's all over the video.
His subjective perception of you is. And that will give you insight.
I forgot. For some reason, I didn't think they said it in the video.
Into how you were perceived.
I didn't think they said it in the video. Why did I think that? Will give you an
insight, an ability to bypass your own...
Wait, is there anything about this on YouTube? Dude. There's a YouTube upload of something here. Let me have a look. This has... This has got to be censored. Surely this is censored. Right? Surely. Right? 1 minute. Let me... I'm going to mute on the start. 1 sec. It is.
Do you call him a child? Did you call the child the word? It is my own business. You call him a...
See, I heard that, but I heard him say, did you call him the N-word? That's what I heard earlier. I thought for some reason this video didn't have...
You have the boss to say it right now again. All right, that's what you say. Nobody digging to you. A little kid just did. A little kid? You call him the little child? Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
Hey, are you about to hit him?
My son's stuff. So that gives you the right to call the child 5-year-old and the N-word. If that's what he's gonna act. That's what you're gonna call him. That's what he's gonna act like. That's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that. I don't give a shot. We'll see about that, what the internet has to say.
A mother was at a playground when all of a sudden Sharmak Bale Omar pulled out his phone and started recording her because apparently she called a child there an inappropriate racial slur. And then he posted the video online, which led to people discovering who he was, hence the mugshot. But it didn't take long for people to find the account that he posted the video onto. She's been doxxed because of him, and
you call him
wow, awesome.
Own cognitive biases of your own perception. So if I want
just to be clear, I disavow all of that language that was recreated for journalistic purposes accidentally, but all in the name of journalism.
What I really am. I have a certain amount of information from myself, right? This is what I think I am. But then
so because I did the YouTube when I watched. I got a YouTube warning a while ago for a Bo Blacks video for hate speech. Because in the video, Bo Blacks recited some of his famous rap, the BLM rap. And when I did the YouTube training, it told me that if you are doing something for journalistic purposes and you make it clear that it's only there to represent, like it's being presented in an academic, journalistic context, then slurs are allowed. There is justified context in which slurs can be used to recreate exactly what someone said so that you can show the events. So I'm hoping this works. I'm writing a paper, thanks, Kuihman. See, there's academics in chat right now. Academics, please respond. Remember that one? That's a classic Kraut and Tea reference, you guys. Classic Kraut and Tea reference.
I have another very valuable piece of information, which is other people's perceptions of me. Now, this is where things get really hard, because if people are sending
for journalistic purposes, can you tell us which one you're referring to? Yeah.
It becomes very difficult to get a reasonable perception of who you are from a heavily biased individual, right?
Yes.
So
yeah, no, it's impossible at that point.
I get that. So not impossible, right? So this is where it's really interesting. But sometimes the people who hate you the most can still be very valuable information about how you exist in the world.
I agree with that. No, right? I super agree with that.
And the classic example of this is like in a relationship where there is one person who is narcissistic. So anytime we're dealing with narcissism, it becomes really hard for that person, like this person will perceive other people as hating them. I think I'm not saying you're narcissistic or anything like that. And I think that there's a difference between a narcissistic family member who believes that I lost weight to make them look bad. There's a huge objective gap.
What?
Yeah, so I lost weight. So I feel insecure about, person A feels insecure about their weight. Person B loses weight. Person A gets mad at person B for losing weight so that it makes them look bad. That shit happens. I think that's
weird as shit.
It's a wide gap between death threats that you're receiving, which I really do hope stop.
Yeah.
But my point is that I think the mistake you're making is that you say I'm smug, and then you go on to all of these other issues, whereas I think you're really downplaying, whether consciously or unconsciously or whatever. Maybe it's even objectively correct. I don't know.
No, Ethan Hassan tonight. This is they're both very long, and people wanted this. We did a poll.
All I know is that when you do that, people are not going to be happy with it. And when they respond to you, we're not talking about right or wrong here. We're talking about efficacy or not efficacy. Trying to understand where they're coming from with their complaints, as opposed to, so basically steel manning their argument instead of straw manning their argument.
No, every content creator past a certain size has had at least one death threat. No, that is true. Everyone gets that. But if there's a pattern of it happening, there's probably something you're doing.
Okay. No, I mean,
Right?
I think the thing is that that's what I tried to do in the beginning, and I have not done that since. I think I stopped doing that about 30 days in. I tried to sit down and talk to people about it. I tried to ask people, like, hey, why are you saying that? And each time that I tried to do that, like I said, the callus kind of built up. It would end in just screaming the same thing over again until they get banned. And I haven't been able to get like a valid, real conversation out of it. I think the biggest thing is that I've only been able to receive really polarized responses. I either get people from our community, they're like, no, you're the best, you didn't do anything wrong, which is not true. Like, obviously I screwed up in the dungeon, right? Like, that's obvious, and I'm smug about it. Like, get it, right? And then there's the other side of it, which is, you're a piece of shit and you deserve to die. And I'm like, dude, these are so polarized. What am I supposed to get?
Yeah, so the solution that I am suggesting works with humans. I don't know if it works on the internet.
It's a very different thing, right?
No, absolutely. Right? So in the real world, when someone gets mad at you, like, I want y'all to think about if people behaved in the real world the way they do on the internet, shit would be crazy.
That's actually already started happening. This has spilled over into people interacting with me that way in real life.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I mean, that's like, even if someone does something, I don't know what Thor did to hurt y'all, but I don't think he did very much objectively. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Like, so that's where, like, even when I say that, the way that I attach a statement to it, maybe I'm missing something, right? But my understanding of the situation is that you were kind of an ass about something involving a WoW raid. And then my guess is that you were kind of an ass with the way that you responded to it, because you're really good at being an ass. Like, in a way that I really appreciate, but you're an ass. So it's
when
what
I say
makes
smug, that's the same. Yes, I would.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, what I love, I've sent you a couple of
Absolute key update coming in here. Someone has declared the top 5 Jewish ops on white men: Sports, Lil Peep / SoundCloud rappers, Crocs, Morgan Wallen, raised pickup trucks, with the honorable mentions of Mustache and Mullet Combo and Eminem. This is updated list.
DMs, because, like, I'll see your shorts or whatever, and I'll be like, this is fucking amazing. That assholery that you exhibit, where you have these kind of base takes, is like what makes you amazing. And when that energy...
Wait, how is sports a white man op? Everyone does sports. Jews don't do sport. What are you talking about, man? There's like one Israeli football team, and it's just an excuse to go and be racist in other countries. That's a joke from Airplane. True, some Jews play basketball. That is true. That is true. What's the joke from Airplane? What are you referencing? Lady asked for light reading and a pamphlet of Jewish athletes. Okay.
When that kind of emotional energy comes out where you did something wrong, and then I think what happens is the way that you frame your response is, it's not that bad. I didn't really do too much. Everyone made mistakes. Like, it's like you'll say you make a mistake, but that's not what comes across. Right? So if you and I have a fight, right?
So I feel like I'm being direct, and other people feel like I'm being evasive.
100%.
Okay.
So I want you to think about this for a second.
I've always had problems with that.
I can tell.
100% communication failure in me.
I can tell 100%.
That's the thing. I couldn't have this conversation with anyone else because it was just polarized and obnoxious every time I tried to have that conversation. And yeah, no, I get that. So, I've had issues with that my entire life, because it's hard for me to be like, if I say something, I go, hey, here's the thing, and they go, oh, he's hiding something, and I'm like, but how else can I say this?
Yes.
And that's
So I think that's huge. So now I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you believe you are being direct and other people believe you are being evasive,
yeah,
what kind of model would you develop for, like, shit happens on day 1, and what are things going to look like on day 100? It's just going to get worse, right? Because the more that you're pouring a liquid on the fire, you think it's water, they think it's oil, and things are just.
That's why I tried. That's why I tried all those different, like, things along the way of, like, hey, we'll talk about this, we'll do this kind of a thing, try to communicate this in some other way, and I feel like I ran out of options. Jesus.
Yeah, I really do, and maybe it's like me giving you the benefit of the doubt, and this will trigger people as well. I think you've done the best that you know how to do. I think you've done a really good job in managing this really shitty situation.
I feel like it, but I don't know if that's true, right? Like, I don't know.
So I think what's true is, I think most human beings do the best that they know how to do. And oftentimes, we don't judge people based on what they're capable of. We judge people based on what they do. So when someone is hurtful to me, like I'll give you, I know it's kind of a weird abstract sentence. So when I'm in the emergency room, someone is high on crystal meth and calling me an ass fucker or whatever. Sorry, maybe that was too much.
It's fine.
I've heard it.
That's medicine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when they say things like that,
what?
The objective impact of those words is like, that's what they're doing, right? That's hurtful. And at the same time, the most peaceful and harmonious way to go through life is to do our best to understand where this person is coming from, right? This person is crashing off of crystal meth. Their dopamine transmission was 10,000 times normal 2 hours ago, and now they're completely dopamine depleted. The more that we can do that, objectively, what they did was unacceptable. And also, if we treat people that way, it doesn't work well. It just doesn't work well. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's just. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying it's it's not harmonious. And I think what's been going on with you is first of all, people are not doing that for you. They're doing the opposite.
Misaligned. That's
right? People
problem.
are not saying, hey, this guy is so for all the accusations. So I remember seeing something on LSF about people accused you of cheating in Outer Wilds or something. This was one of the things. I don't know if that's true or not true.
It is.
People seem to think that they have very convincing evidence of that. I don't really get into it. I still need to play the game. Please, no spoilers. My point is that in those moments, even if they're objectively correct, I think the right thing that we need to do as humanity and the internet is cut people as much slack as we can. And this is where a lot of people will say, oh, we cut them slack. No, you guys don't cut them slack. We don't. Let's be honest.
Why would
on the internet, when you
slack?
feel judgmental towards someone, the most knee-jerk reaction is to not cut them any slack, but to dogpile them. That's what happens. There's this very primitive human psychology thing of when one bully is beating someone else up, we're going to get our kicks in, especially if it helps us feel good. Now, the problem, Thor, is that I think you are guilty of exactly the same thing. We all are. It's a human deficit.
Sure.
Okay? But you're guilty of it too, because I think what you say, hey, I was just smug, that's not how it felt to other people.
I think that was me dumbing it down to a flashpoint moment, not the full story.
Absolutely. So, and that's where you're screwing up, because you will dumb down your flaws to one word, but you will extrapolate and hypothesize other people's flaws to the nth degree.
I don't think that is a fair assessment.
Okay.
Personally. Yeah, and
okay.
I don't feel that's a fair assessment, because I don't feel like I do that to people.
What was it coming
when
up?
I'm talking about, hey, these are all the things that came after this. That's because that has gone on. The moment was like a day. The attacks for that have been 100 days.
Okay.
So there's so much more content to talk about in terms of how
much
negativity there has been.
I rescind my statement.
Yeah.
So I accept that there is... Okay, so here's how I would modify it. So I think you're right. I take that back, and I apologize.
Yeah.
No, and I think the perception from my end is still the same.
Okay.
Right? So we heard a long story from you. Even if it's congruent with reality, one word of what you did wrong, smug, and then 99 words of what other people did wrong. Even if it's correct, I'll agree that it's correct. My point is that when a human being shows up and says, I did one tiny thing wrong and everyone else did 99 things wrong, the reception that they're going to receive is not going to be pleasant.
The thing is I don't know if that's always the case.
It's not always the case.
Because what I've found more often than not is I'm trying to give context of here's all the stuff that happened from my perspective. This is the response the person has from it. They at this point, it's because it's so exhausting. It's take it or leave it. It's here we go. Have the thing.
You're right. You're 100% right that it is. So I think the big difference is who the person is.
Yeah. I can see that.
If you were a human being who was physically assaulted on the street, you could say, here's the one thing I did wrong, here are the 99 things they did wrong, and everyone would be on your side. You, however, have some combination of luck or the way that you interact with people, which you kind of said like you've struggled with this. So I see that this is like, it's like a difficulty with mentalizing is what we call it.
I don't know what mentalizing means.
Mentalizing is the ability to understand other people's thought processes and internal experience. Now, I know this seems confusing to you because you are really good at cognitive calculation of those things. But there's a big difference between understanding their internal experience and calculating their internal experience.
Okay.
You're really good at calculating, which is, I think, what you've managed to do. You use that, and you're not alone, by the way. A lot of people have this. I have this, where we calculate our way to understanding other human beings instead of like understanding their subjective experience. It's cognitive empathy versus emotional empathy.
I think you have to do both sides of that.
You do, 100%.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And like, no, because I think for other scenarios, I feel like I have done that.
Yep.
Of like, hey, I can understand, hey, this person is doing something illogical, but they're doing it because from their perspective, it makes the most sense. Like you explain the person who's like high on meth, right? And they're having a freak out and they're screaming stuff at you. What they're doing doesn't make sense for everyone else around, but from their perspective, maybe they feel like they're getting attacked. Maybe they feel like all this kind of stuff is going on, right? So I understand that side of that completely. But with this scenario, like I said, it was exhausting at this point. That's fallen away. The layers of I guess, giving a shit about empathizing with attack people that are coming in is just gone.
I completely agree. So what I'm sort of, this is more of like a long-term thing where like, I think this is also where like, if any of y'all are in this situation, right? This idea of like, I keep on doing what I think is the right thing and it keeps on messing things up. And I think you had a brilliant way to like.
Dude, this is a joke, right? There's no way. Okay, like I don't want to get distracted by Hassani stuff, but there's no way Hassan actually got him to say this is there. This didn't happen. This didn't happen. Dude.
Like, well, for me, it clicked. I think I'm being direct. Other people think I'm being evasive. So
I might be off tomorrow, but the next stream I will cover it. Yeah.
I think for people, if y'all find yourself in a situation where you're like, I'm doing everything right, and by the way, this is like in the line of a narcissistic defense, right? So a narcissistic defense is one where you think you're objectively correct, and people around you are like wrong. So that is like,
I don't think I'm objectively correct. I'm just giving my.
I'm not saying you are. I'm saying this is in line with a narcissistic defense. So I'm talking about the general principle, not about you. So, and this is just what happens. So this is what all human beings do. When we feel attacked, we tend to, the narrative that we portray is shaped in a certain way that like we don't really control. Like, so if I'm talking to a narcissist, I think, so let me just take a step back because I got to do a better job of this. So the first thing is that the narcissistic defense mechanism is something that all human beings employ. In yoga, it is called the ahamkara or the ego. So like we all, in order to function in life, it is very difficult for us to look at ourselves objectively. Now, what makes it harder to look at ourselves objectively is how much people attack us. So the more people attack us, the more our emotional and mental reaction is to defend. In the same way that if I was standing next to you and I tried to punch you, if I made a fist and I tried to punch you in your abs, your belly would harden. You can't even control it. You had to have no choice but to harden your abdominal muscles as I tried to punch you in the stomach. In the same way,
to have some, but yes.
In the same way, when we are attacked by someone, and this is true of all streamers because we get attacked a lot, our narcissistic defense must compensate. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. I'm not calling you a raging narcissist. Please, no one take that away. Okay?
Oh, they will.
I know they will, and that's why I'm going to call attention to it. But this is something that if they're calling attention to it, they're missing the point. If anyone is listening to this conversation and still thinking this is about how Thor is a bad guy, y'all are fucking missing the point of this conversation. What you are going through, Thor, is something that every human being on the planet will go through in some form. Every human being on the planet will do something where they make a mistake, and a lot of other people, and y'all, like, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, chat. Have you ever been in a situation where a lot of people made mistakes, including you, and then you owned up to your part, but people dogpiled on you anyway? And when they dogpile on you anyway, you did something stupid. You behaved like Thor did, and you defended yourself. And you said, hey, objectively, here's what I think happened. Here's my perspective. And the more you tried to defend yourself,
ancient Hindu technology here. Okay.
The more angry people got with you. I would be stunned if this has not happened to every person in chat at some point in their lives. And so what we're talking about now is this cycle. This idea that, okay, I'm objective, other people are subjective. Because I absolutely think you have that bias, by the way. We all do. But like, I think it's very prevalent in the way that you talk. The really tricky thing there, and I have to acknowledge this, is it's not clear whether that is actually what's in your head or that is just the way it comes across. Because it absolutely comes across that way. So when I said you owned up to this one thing, and then you talked about all this other bad stuff that happened to you, and you're like, objectively, I disagree. I did this one thing, and I literally have 50,000 people. And I was like, okay, you know what? You're right. But even though you're right, what people are going to hear, their limbic circuits of the brain are going to hear, yeah, I was smug and all this shit happened to me and it's not my fault. That's what people are going to hear. And when people hear that...
Dude, that's weird for me. Legitimately.
Yep, I know.
Because like, from my perspective, I'm like, hey, you know, I screwed this up. This is how this went down. Here's my perspective on it.
Yep.
And then the response is, you didn't take any accountability. You're a piece of shit. Why won't you just say it? And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense to me in response.
Will you be covering the H3 debate, Kuihman? We may start timing out for this. I will not be covering it tonight. I will be covering it. It will get covered, okay?
Yeah.
Like,
so,
for me, that's such a disconnect
Kuihman
between
guarantee
those two
it will
conversations.
get covered.
And this is not about right or wrong, fair or unfair, just or unjust, true or not true. Now what we're talking about, like, so we're a channel that talks about the mind. So you're saying, I said this, someone says you don't take any fucking accountability. And you're like, that is a disconnect with me. I completely agree. That is the one thing that I think we can all agree on, is that whether they like you, dislike you, whether they like whatever, the one thing we can all agree on is that there's a disconnect. Other people think that you're disconnected. You think they're it's not even about you, but or other blame. There is absolutely a disconnect between the kind of response that you're getting and what you're doing. There is a disconnect for other people between what you did and what you're owning up to. That's my point. So like when I started this conversation, the key thing is that there's a circle that's empty. That's the only way this can be explained. And the question is, what's in the circle? And what I found, if y'all find yourself in a situation like Thor, I find the hardest thing is oftentimes the best thing to try to do, which is to try to understand when someone says, I don't take accountability, or they accuse me, they say, you don't take accountability, to do your best to try to understand that. And I think you've done that, because it sounded like for the first 30 days, you engaged with people in conversation.
Yes.
And when you engage,
I found that the reactions started to get more and more, I could use the word unhinged, but it really just comes down to more and more unbending of, I just want to make an attack. I just want to go in the chat and make an attack. I just want to go on your YouTube and make an attack. It wasn't in good faith to have, like, I want to have a conversation about this. It was, I just want to be here to throw a punch and then leave. And
so I think that there's two things that I hear there. One is, once again, this pattern of the more I do something right, the more wrong someone appears to be. Right? So I tried to listen to them. They became more unhinged. They became more unbending. So that can absolutely be the case. But do you see how this is another scenario where you behaved correctly and someone else behaved incorrectly?
I feel like that is an incorrect response, because the first thing that'll be brought up is they always say, well, you didn't accept any blame. And I go, here's in this post.
What did you hear me say?
Maybe I misunderstood.
Yeah. So I'm just pointing, your statement was, I tried to listen to people and they became more unhinged.
Yeah.
So I want you to code.
I think that the people that are still.
No, don't worry about the people. Hold on.
Okay.
Code that sentence. Look at the grammar of that sentence. I did.
Because it's objective?
I did something right and they did something wrong. That's the way, that's what I hear when you say those words. And this could be where your disconnect is. I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. I'm just saying, here's another statement that you made. I tried to talk to people. They're crazy.
I don't think, I think there's an objective reality there, though. When someone comes in and says, you didn't take any accountability for this, and I go, here in this post, I said I did this wrong. Here on this video, I said I did this wrong. And they go, that never happened. Like,
okay.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Very good. Now we're getting somewhere. Okay. So I know it's crazy. I know it's crazy. Okay. So bear with me, Thor. Try. Don't read chat. Focus. Ignore chat. Okay.
Saving a chat.
Here's the problem. You're not wrong. That's what's so wrong. That's what's so hard about this. So when you engage with people for the first 30 days, I think there's let's think about it, okay? There's a selection bias. Who's going to come talk to you? The raving people.
I think that was the initial wave, and then it calmed down to people that were kind of willing to talk, and now it's just the raving.
Whatever. Yeah. So like when you open yourself to conversation on the internet, let's be honest, the likelihood that you get a balanced person who really is willing to take a step back and admit their flaws and understand how they're wrong and is not projecting something on you is low.
That's not what the intention of me talking about it was when I was engaging in those conversations. The way that I feel about that a lot of the times, you're not going to get through to the person who's angry on the internet.
Okay.
You generally won't. They're not going to sit down and have a valid conversation with you. They're not interested in resolving that. Most of the time, that person doesn't care, I find.
Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, if you don't say anything, I feel that on the internet today, if you do not say a thing in defense of yourself at all, everyone believes the only voice in the room, which is the one that's negative.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened. So I put out a video about all this kind of stuff, released that, and immediately everyone was like, oh shit, maybe this is too far. And I got a whole bunch of people actually sending me positive posts for the first time since all that happened.
Cool.
So the stance that I've taken on all of this is I go, here's what I saw from my perspective. This is what's been going on to me. And then there's kind of a camp of people that say, fuck you, I hate you. And then there's a camp of people that go, that seems reasonable. And I've just kind of hung out with people that think that it's reasonable because I don't know if there's another solution to that scenario.
Yeah, so I think that there is another solution to that scenario. And so that's what I'm trying to point out to you is there's a certain way in which you communicate, which I don't think is wrong, but gets consistently perceived, like we mentioned earlier, direct into evasive. So when we you just, and I don't know if this makes sense, but I want you to I don't know how to say this. You're a programmer, so maybe this will make sense. I'm trying to put.
Let's say based on free. I was on free and AFK for 1 second to get some food. Okay, I'm locked in now.
Language that I don't understand that I hope you will, because I don't know what I'm talking about. Code your statements. I tried to talk to people. I presented proof. They became unhinged. So if we code that statement, I did something right, they reacted wrong. What I hear frequently in the way that you communicate is that structure. Now, what makes this so confusing is that I'm not saying that that statement is factually incorrect. And if anyone who has dealt with other human beings knows this, you can tell another human being something that is factually correct, and they cannot give a damn and double down. In fact, that is usually what happens. So what I'm sort of getting is this is the disconnect. I do wonder whether you are blind to, there's a certain kind of accountability that people are looking from you that you're not giving them. That doesn't mean...
What is
it? This is what I'm digging into. So one is maybe it's in the way you're getting it. So it's not that I'm not saying you need to take more accountability, okay? I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. But my point is that when I see this pattern, and it could be just it's like a perceptual thing, because the way that you're talking is making people more upset, which doesn't mean that you're wrong. It's just the way that I'm communicating is ineffective at resolving this issue. So a simple thing, and I'm not saying that you should do this, but I'm curious about this, is I've noticed that you tend to be incomplete. I've noticed that you tend to be complete with your answers. So when I look at that X thread, right? You try really hard and you do a great job. You're like, here's what happened, here's what happened, here's what happened, here's what happened, here's what happened. Have you ever tried to be incomplete with the smugness? Just talk about the smugness.
If I try to be incomplete with it?
Incomplete with the whole story and just focus on the smugness.
What does that mean?
Let me
like not give it any context.
What? How do you... What? You really can't imagine isolating just your flaw and explaining that. Dude.
Whatsoever?
Yeah. Let's say yes to that. I think that's a bit of hyperbole, but
just an emotional response?
No, just say, hey guys. So basically, you know, when you tell the narrative, you start with like, I made a mistake, everyone made mistakes, I was smug. And then there's a lot that comes after that. How would you feel about just ending it after that first paragraph?
I hate that.
Okay.
I have like an immediate emotionally angry response against that.
Very good.
Because it feels like idiocracy.
Okay.
It feels like...
Let's go. Total crash out. Let's go. Let's go. Actually, everyone's fucking stupid. Let's go.
How do you feel about just ending it after that first paragraph?
I hate that.
Okay.
I have like an immediate emotionally angry response against that.
Very good.
Because it feels like idiocracy.
Okay.
It feels like, that's too long, didn't read, I don't need all those words when few words do gooder. That I hate that shit. Like I super hate that kind of communication of like there's a lot of people that just say like, oh, you should just say my bad guys. No. That does not in any way explain a situation. That doesn't.
Oh, let's go. The mask slips. The mask totally slips. Dr. Killer's gotten there. We're here. We're here. Strap in. Let's go.
Okay.
It feels like, that's too long, didn't read, I don't need all those words when few words do gooder. That I hate that shit. Like I super hate that kind of communication of like there's a lot of people that just say like, oh, you should just say my bad guys. No. That does not in any way explain a situation. That doesn't tell you any information that is real. It is hand waving for the masses in a way that is disingenuous to what happened and disingenuous to the people that are involved. I feel like to do that would be just me lying for the sake of lying so that people would fuck off. I really hate that. That absolutely feels like idiocracy to me. 100%.
Dude, it's so funny. Think about this as well, right? So, okay. I want to pick that apart a little bit. So, first of all, he says, be disingenuous to the people involved. You don't care if it's disingenuous to the people involved. You care that you feel like it's disingenuous to you. You think it's a framing of yourself that doesn't comport with the way that you want to present yourself. And that's the problem you have with it, first of all. Now, second part to that. He is more than happy to be incomplete if it benefits him. And he doesn't have this emotional response. All of his explanations of like complex topics are grossly incomplete. He tells stories in a way to try and make himself look best about his past and borderline makes stuff up, possibly totally fabricate things. He's more than happy to do it when it benefits him. But in situations like this, where it's going to cause him like pain to his ego, that's when it's an issue.
I don't like doing hand-waving gestures for the sake of hand-waving gestures. I don't like that at all. And I don't know if that's the wrong thing to feel, but that feels fucked up to me.
No, I think it's great.
Do that. I could go on the internet and just be like, oh yeah, my bad guys, but like that's not real. It doesn't make sense.
I think that's great. So I think what I liked about that response, my hope, so we're not here to like rehab your PR, right? We're just here to have a conversation. And at the same time, over the last 2 hours, there's something about the way that I hear you talk that rubs me the wrong way. There's something about the way that you talk.
Dude, this is just fucking amazing. This is so good. Dr. K is the craziest motherfucker alive. The most cold, sociopathic killer on the internet, right? It's crazy.
Talk that seems dismissive. So I'll tell you where that...
No, I agree with that.
Right? So it's like, I made a mistake, we all made mistakes.
Okay.
Right? So there's something about your sentence construction. It's like, oh yeah, Thor, I'm sorry I cheated on you, bro. I really do love you. You know, we both have flaws in this marriage. Like, do you see what that... We're not married, but you see what I mean?
Now that you've cheated on me.
Yeah. So there's something, and I don't think, and this is what's so tricky, is like, I don't think you're wrong. Like, I don't, and what we got
the way
from
that
you...
I feel about it,
yeah,
is that it I don't even know if the word, it doesn't feel like a lie. It feels like
appeasement.
It feels like appeasement for the sake of appeasement.
Yeah.
It feels like they're asking for something that they know is not real, and
Hey. Yo, I was muted, sorry. I'm retarded. Dude, no way. Mama Max just dropped a 2.5-hour response video. Dude, what?
I'd be giving them something that we both know is not real for the sake of giving something that's not real so that they stop being mad about something that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, so I think I think the key thing there is I was trying to figure out what won me over when you said that. And I'd be super curious if, like, how chat reacts to that as well. I'm not looking. I don't think you should, but because I think that that's what people are missing from you, is like when you, and this is what I think makes you great, is when you actually, your best content is not when you're logical. Your best content is when you're emotional. And the logic supports it. Like, there's logic there. But you're like, look, I'm not willing to do that. Could I do that? Absolutely. I just don't think that's right. Yeah. I think that this is like a stupid fucking appeasement world. I'm not going to be like all of the other streamers who post bullshit apology videos for the sake of appeasement and virtue signaling. I think that I kind of fucked up. I'm not done. This is a fucking hardcore WoW. People die in hardcore WoW. Like, I think you've been accused of making fun of another mage or something like that too. Like, I saw some post about that. I don't know if that's true or not true, but look, it's Twitch.
We can talk about that if you want. That was my bad. But.
Yeah, and like it, but like that's fine, right? Like, I mean, I play Dota, like, not as much as I would like to anymore. And I got to play Expedition 33. But when I play an online video game, especially in an MMO
game, I'm itching to play right now. Okay, like, guys, that's actually someone Ryzik mentioned in chat earlier, and I was very close to going on a tangent with Expedition 33, but I thought I'm not going just to get distracted by a message in the chat and start talking about the game I'm playing. However, now that Dr. K said it, I will say that I am fucking stuck on this gay fucking Gestrel Beach, with the rafts minigame. The final one is just fucking me. I can't get it. I can't do the final raft. Do you guys know what I mean? It's mad fucking annoying.
RPG where tensions are high, I'm going to blame my teammates. I'm going to blame my teammates. I do it all the time. Right? And if I say something like that, it feels dismissive. But something about what you just said, you're like, this is the line in the sand that I'm drawing. I've tried my best. I admit I have blind spots. Some of this stuff is a disconnect for me. I think you got to really work on that. Right? So I'm thinking about what that practically looks like. But I really think that something about the way that you construct your sentences, which is objective on one hand, but I think it can be both. I think it's objective, and I think there's a little bit too much dismissal. It feels that way when I listen to you.
So when I'm talking about this kind of stuff, what I'm trying to get across is this seems like the most realistic scenario. This is what I saw from my side. It's not me trying to cast blame away from myself. It's going, no, we all fucked up. That's the reality of the situation. We all fucked up. And I think what people want is they want me to go, no, it's my bad. But my bad is a lie.
So sure.
And I don't want to do that because it feels... Yeah. It feels like I'm being asked to give bullshit for the sake of giving bullshit so that other people can be like, oh, I love this bullshit. we're cool now because we both realize that we've both bullshitted each other in the situation. It's not real. None of that is real. It's hand wavy.
I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. Now I'm going to ask you a question that please don't clip this out of context. Or if someone clips this out of context,
it's already done.
Please add someone post underneath with a reply this portion, okay? So you say you do your best to look at it objectively and you conclude this is bullshit. And I'm not saying you're wrong, okay? So I want
look at it objectively based on my subjective experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
So let's assume for a moment, let's assume for a moment that you are a narcissist.
Okay. That's going to get clipped.
I know. I know. But it's like, I think this is really where the money is. And this is not just about you. This is about everybody, myself included. I run this exercise with myself all the time.
Let's go.
If a narcissist goes through the process that you go through, they will end up in the same place that you end up.
Which is likely why people make the accusation.
I didn't know they did that, but yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So like, that's the problem that you're dealing with. And it's
I don't know that.
Huh?
That's the thing. For me, I didn't know that.
Yes.
I had no clue.
Right? So think about that, right? Like, that's the
Dr. K sounds just like Mr. Gull in some spots. Yeah, but because, I mean, it's obviously because Mr. Gull's from like a psychologist family, right? So he's just like, it's a lot of the same language and communication style.
And this is the problem. Like I don't know if this makes that, like, that's the problem. Is that if I listen to you, are you someone
psychologist family? Yeah, Jewish family. Yes, Steve.
Who is objective? Who has done like all the like? Is your representation thorough and objective, or is this the construction of a narcissistic mind that's just defending itself and things like that?
The problem that leads into is that goes down to: are you willing to have a conversation with me, or do you just want to believe the narrative that you already want to believe?
Agree 100%. That and that's why you're fucked, bro. Because the internet is not interested in having 90% of the internet is not interested in having conversations. And you will see this all the time on take any political subreddit or any political streamer, and you'll see that people are not interested in having conversations. And I do think there's a lot of weird stuff going on with you too, but like that's like parasocial and stuff like that.
The thing though, legitimately, dude, is we've built up a community of specifically people that have conversations about things. That's why, after all of this, we're still sitting at like 6,000 to 10,000 people on a daily basis. That doesn't happen in a situation that is like I meticulously made sure that we had a community where we could talk about stuff on a logical basis and try to work things out outside of that. And I've been pushing that on this channel for 8 years. And I don't think I'd have a community if I built one that was based on instant emotional reaction. Because they'd just be like, oh, he's a piece of shit. You know,
yeah. So there are absolutely communities like that. You know, and I think it's great that you're
software fans are just the most
and
logical,
maybe that's why people are coming from other
online.
Communities to you, because it was a group WoW thing. So there's like a lot of other communities that are interacting with yours. The thing that I would encourage you to
my
do,
chat's
and
all
this is for
Mensa
everyone,
members too,
I do this
Pirate
on a
Software.
daily
I know where
basis,
you're coming from, Thor.
is assume for a moment that you're a narcissist. And think about, if I'm narcissistic, what would I be missing? Right? Like, even... So I'm trying to think of an example. So I recently had an interpersonal conflict where I felt hurt by someone I'm close to. Okay? And as I was thinking through all the things that this person has done wrong to me, I stopped for a second and I was like, am I just being a little bitch?
If you ever need proof that like IQ and Mensa is a total op, then just remember the fact that Hellbent claims to be like 140.
Is genuine? Is this fair? Like, what are all of the counter examples? Am I just glossing over all of the stuff that they do right? Am I ignoring all of the stuff that I do wrong? Am I ignoring when this person lets me down? What is my contribution to this system in which I am disappointed? So these are
that seems normal to me, though.
Okay, reaction. Good. Yeah. So, but I think a lot of times when we feel hurt, we're not. We don't do that. Right, so
no, that's the first.
I can't remember what Hellbent's IQ was. I just know she said it at some point. I don't even know if that's true.
Okay, cool. I think that's great. I mean, if you're already doing that, that's awesome. Then I think the main thing then that I would encourage you to really think about is like this disconnect, and what's the variable in there. And what I would strongly encourage that you do is that variable is going to be divided into two portions. One is that the amplification, the disconnect, the question mark of this situation. You understand what I'm saying? Or not really?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm kind of understanding, but I think it's hard for me to understand how I'm supposed to respond to that if the requirement for the response is you need to make it incomplete and dumb it down and hand wave it. That makes me feel like I'm just lying to people.
No. I think your response to when I said, "What do you think about that?" Your response to that kind of won me over. I don't think you should do that. So now what we're talking about is for anyone who is in a situation where I behave in a certain way, the world responds to me in this way, and there's a gap between these two things. This is the scenario that I'm talking about. So in that scenario, what's the question mark? What's the amplifier? So there are certain things that we can attribute to things outside of you. So people have parasocial relationships, people are projecting, people don't like me, whatever. Like people are upset, whatever. There's all the stuff that they do, and then there's all the stuff that you do. And this is where I think it's hard, but I think a really good example of what came out of today, which hopefully feels okay to you, is when I'm direct, other people think I'm evasive. I think those are the kinds of nuggets that I have seen transform lives and literally save marriages.
It's just funny because like I've had effectively the same conversation with the moderation team. Was like I use the same terminology as like that feels like idiocracy. I don't feel like dumbing down my language.
Please leak this conversation. Leak this conversation, please, Jason. I'm begging. Leak this conversation with your mods. I have to hear this. I have to see it, read it, whatever. I have to see what happened in this conversation where you berated your mods about how it's idiocracy.
And just being dishonest about it to hand wave it makes sense. And I feel greasy doing that. I don't know how else to describe that.
Are you hearing me talk about dumbing things down at this point?
When I say dumbing things down, I mean like the idea of like, oh, my bad, bro. And just kind of leave it like that. That doesn't make sense.
What are you hearing me say to you right now?
Of a way to resolve the language of, you know, I feel like I'm being objective. They feel like I'm being evasive. And to me, it comes across as I'm over-explaining. I'm giving too much context. I'm making the scenario of myself as a player within that rather than this is what I didn't know and that's it, and then we walk away.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. So I understand where our disconnect is.
Okay.
I have removed dumbing down from the equation of my solution space when I talk to you. Take it off the table. Done. Doesn't feel right. I agree. What I'm saying is that if we look at...
So I'm just priming you guys, okay? Priming you guys, warning you. It may be the case, if Mama Max is saying bad things about Mutahar in this video, we may be semi-ironically supporting Max. That may be the direction this is headed. So I'm just warning you guys, okay? If there is semi-ironic support for Mama Max over the next week, try not to have an emotional reaction to it.
I'm being direct. They feel like I'm being evasive. The tactical options to solve that involve way more than dumbing things down.
Okay.
So that's what I think. Yeah, I would focus on that. So like, don't dumb things down. Be authentic. But there's also a way, because like, right, so fundamentally this is an issue of communication. It's an issue of understanding. It's an issue of getting your point across, arguably listening to other people's. And so that is a skill. It is an art form. There's a way to do it well and do it poorly. Now, what a lot of people do, which I think is bad, which I really appreciate you standing up against, is dumbing things down, virtue signaling, pro forma apology.
I hate that. Like I
hate it too.
I hate the idea of here's my ukulele sad YouTuber video. Let me just lie to the camera for 5 minutes.
But that's not what he's saying. It's not like the ukulele thing at all.
So my point is that if we look at like, you know, like,
and I feel like that's what I was being asked to do, and I'm like, no, here's how I see it. And they're good.
Yeah. So and my point is that somewhere between the pro forma apology and what comes out of your mouth, there's going to be something in the middle there, which is an adaptation of what you do, which feels authentic, feels truthful, feels complete, and there's literally something about the way that you talk where if I code your responses, that's the best way I know how to put it. It's kind of like there's a theme of what feels like a lack of accountability from a listener's perspective. I don't think you're not taking accountability objectively. But what I'm saying is that the limbic circuits of my brain, the emotional circuits of my brain, when I hear you talk, it feels like you're leaving something out. It feels somehow incomplete or unbalanced. And I know that's a very difficult problem for you to solve.
Like, that doesn't give me a lot of tools, right?
It really, it's hard. So that's where, like, I'm going to think a little bit about how to bridge that gap, but like something in that is where the money is. I feel really confident about that. It's not a pro forma apology, but it is also thinking about the way that you make statements that rubs people the wrong way. And then the other interesting thing that I really have to like encourage you to think about is it hard for you to see a different way to use your words? Because in your mind, you're only able to see things one way.
The way that I put that up, the way that I put out messaging like that, especially public messaging, the internet will find any chink in the armor to try to unravel it into saying.
But this doesn't happen to everyone, does it? This doesn't happen to everyone.
So what I try to do is I go, okay, so instead of putting the ego first on this and being like, I did the best thing or I did the worst thing or being an emotional platitudes for this kind of
shit. Whoa! What did he just say? What the? Yo, what the?
Shit or virtue signal for it. I just go, here's everything that happened from my perspective, and that's my story.
Okay, you ready for the mindfuck?
Sure.
You said that what you put out, people will try to find the chink in the armor, right?
Yo, what the anyway, what?
Yeah. No, they're not going to do it anyway. The way that you put things out makes them want to find the chink in your armor.
That doesn't make sense.
Dude, I completely disavow. This is disgusting.
I know.
That sounds, to me, sounds obsessive. I need, like, there's a necessity to find a problem when there isn't one?
No, I think you're missing the point. The way that you communicate information, the way that you speak makes people want to find the chink in the armor because people communicate. Yeah. I know it's hard, man. It's wild. It's crazy. I'm with you. Right? So there's something that you're doing that from a logical perspective makes perfect sense. The emotional energy of your words, and I'm not right about this, okay? I could be wrong. But I really suspect that this is where the money is, where something about the way that you present yourself, which, by the way, went away when you got pissed off about when I was like, what do you think about just doing a mea culpa? And you're like, fuck that. I was in your corner. But here's the thing. The way that you talk...
You need more of an emotional interaction.
Because why do I want to poke you in the armor? Because of your logic? No, because of your emotions. That reflex, this is what you got to understand, Thor. That reflex comes from the emotional energy that you're sending and the emotional energy that they're receiving. Now, this gets more complicated because you are right that this is an unsolvable problem. Because there's only so much that you can do in this situation. That at the end of the day, there are going to be people on the internet that are just there to meme, that are just there to make your life worse, that have little lives where they feel frustrated and then they look at a punching bag and they say, hey, I'm going to punch this person. I'm going to knock this person down a peg. And the tragedy there is that they don't truly have little lives. They truly have far greater lives than they have the potential of far greater lives if they stopped spending all of their cognitive and emotional energy trying to knock some random fucking guy on the internet down a peg. Then they would really be happy.
Of all the things I try to do on the internet.
Huh?
That's why I do all. That's
yeah. It's tough, man.
That aspiration that you put there. That's why I do the stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I generally run game jams and all that.
Yeah,
shit.
Yeah.
It's because this shit is a waste of fucking time.
Yep.
Well, wow.
It is the same reason that I have a short out that's like, stop looking at shorts. Go the fuck outside. And I know that sounds like self-inflationary of like aggrandizing for that shit. But like, dude, the internet's a fucking mistake.
No, so here now we get to it. You said, I know it sounds that way. It doesn't sound that way. If I read your words...
Touch grass. Touch grass.
When I say it that way, it sounds that way to me.
But it doesn't sound that way to me.
That's ridiculous to me.
Yes, I know it's ridiculous. So yeah, I know it's hard. So here's the point. The words, if I were to write them down and we said, hey, is this person arrogant? Maybe. It would be the answer that you get. The emotional energy that you add to that doesn't make it come across as arrogant at all. It makes it come across, for me, I get inspired by that. I believe that. That sounds believable to me. So there's some
perception. The perception disconnect is when I talk about a situation while removing the emotion from it. When to me that sounds like the most logical way to communicate, and the most objective way to communicate, which seems like it would be the best way for people to understand the scenario fully. And that's the most disconnected for other people because it makes them feel like I'm being evasive.
I think that is one step in the right direction for you. And that's because human beings are not logical communicators. We are
aware of that.
We're emotional communicators.
Stream hearts open.
Right? So I think the energy that you add to the equation like matters a lot. And what you're trying to remove, and it sort of makes sense, right? Because you
I watched the awful Ethan Hassan debate Raw. I came out with this simple analysis. Both sides suck and they're annoying. With this finale, I can conclusively say we should toss these two out of a... Okay. Please let it be over. Thank you. Thank you, Toll, for the $5. Huge appreciated.
You have a strategy. You've got a particular strategic approach, and that's what got you to where you are. And I know you've tried a lot, but I think this fundamental thing, I don't think this has changed over the whole course.
I haven't responded to the Parry Reddit comment. I did see it, though. I saw it's got like 40 upvotes on fucking YouTube drama.
Course of this.
No.
And I think the really hard thing is I don't know that it needs to change because I think part of what makes you who you are, part of what makes you valuable, part of what attracts the community, because there are a lot of people out there who think like you, who are tired of emotional communication, who have people in their lives where you're like, look, this is the reality of the situation. I cook dinner 4 nights a week. You cook dinner 1 night a week, and you order takeout the other 2 nights of the week. That is the objective scenario. This needs to change. And they're like, nah. So I think that the way you communicate is like an oasis in a desert for a lot of people. So it's not bad. It's just like, this is like something that I think can be leveled up. And a big part of that...
The biggest thing is the more that I have to deal with this just slew of shit with this, the less I've been emotional about it. Because it's effort.
Nick is tarnishing the image of the Wiggler. Time to move on to the VTube model. I think you should be more specific. Hellbent is tarnishing. Nick could not even hope to make his own Wiggler. Hellbent is tarnishing. Hellbent was even warned by Bug about unauthorized Wiggler creation. Nick's is a jiggler. I cannot wiggle. Dude. What? I should get a proper VTube model though if I'm on camera, you're right. I should get a VTube model. I should do it. I might get one of the furry ones that I was entertaining before. The rat or something. It'd be awesome.
Well, so if we were to take that statement as true and we were to make a predictive model, what happened to you would be in line with this prediction. That if...
Thank you for the 279. Thank you. I've got no idea how this ends up with him crying.
If our hypothesis is that emotional communication is
someone might have been lying.
What connects with people, especially on the internet. Yeah. And as you have become more burnt out, which by the way is absolutely going to happen, as you become, as your corpus callosum, you know, you're just fried. You're just blackened at this point. You've got no emotional energy left. And the more you communicate, the angrier people will get. I really hope people leave you the fuck alone because I think it's like enough is enough. I'm happy to say that. Like, you know, I don't usually advocate for people doing that. Maybe people think that I'm a narcissist or whatever. Like, that's fine. But I don't think this is about you. I think this is like when someone makes whatever kind of mistakes you made, and whether you were mean to people or not, whether you went to the bathroom.
What do you guys like more? Nick's jiggler or Kuihman's juggler?
Thank you for the $5, Jimberly. Thank you.
And looked something up, or you have a butt plug that is vibrating in Morse code to give you the solution. You know, like is connected.
Can't abandon the Quiggler until someone cashes in the $200 femboy bounty. Wait, what was that? You're saying donate $200 for you to make a femboy one? Is that what it was? I don't even know what you're referring to there. I remember vaguely. It's like ringing a vet. Yeah. Yeah. Dude.
I really don't care. I don't know about the reality. I think it's just like, we all make mistakes. I'm not saying you did or you didn't. It's just like, come on, y'all. Right? Is this really what we're doing now? Like, is this how we're spending our days, how we're spending our time? Are you perfect? No. Are you a regular human being? Yes. So that's kind of where I am. I know it's confusing for you. I
mean, that starts to make sense. I think the thing that bothers me is if someone were to go to me, right, and talk in the way that I'm talking in that objective fashion, I go, oh, cool, here's all the information. I'm going to compile it with other information and then come up with my own way of how I feel about this. And what I'm seeing more and more now, especially on the internet, right, is loud, bombastic, emotional response is what everyone wants for stuff. But we've never had it that way. I've never interacted that way. I've been not that way this entire time. And now for me, suddenly that's a problem. Suddenly that's a bad guy thing, which is like, that's really fucking...
Where has this been reframed to? That people are asking for a loud, bombastic, emotional response. It's not what anyone's asking for, retard.
Weird for me, man. Like, that's not what I expected. That's not the response that I expect. It doesn't really make a huge amount of logical or emotional sense to me. So I'm just like, okay, so you don't think I'm doing this thing. Here's more information. That's not enough. Here's more information. That's not enough. Here's more information. Then eventually it's like, fuck you. I don't care.
Yeah,
so like, there's no other...
Ethan Klein is not having tonight. It's not having tonight. It may not... I don't know what the schedule of the next couple of days is going to be. I was planning to fucking go do stuff tomorrow. And now Mama Max has dropped a 2.5-hour response video. It's like, man, it could not have happened at a worse time for me.
There's no other solution at that point.
There's two things. Like, I had one kind of emotional response, which is like, you're like, that makes sense to me. The really interesting thing is your response of that makes sense to me. I'm not saying don't read too much into it. I was just laughing because what I sent you in that moment was not logical. What I sent you in that moment was emotional.
Yes.
Right?
I have the capacity to understand emotions.
Yeah. But it's interesting because there are so many times where I've tried to send you logical signals and then there's a disconnect. Yeah. But you can easily argue that it's apples and oranges. The second thing that I want to say, and I know you have emotional capacity, like I get that. You love your ferrets. They show up there. So the other thing that I think is interesting to note is that I think that you are on the receiving end of, not just you, but basically this happens. So there's a group of parasocial nomad haters on the internet. That's what I call them.
Yeah. Huh? Chat hoppers is what they're generally called on Twitch.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that. But like, so what I
jump from one community to another when there's like a big drama.
Exactly. So these are the people that follow the drama. So whoever, and then the problem is if you've created a community that values a certain kind of communication, and the chat hoppers show up, everything that you've built will get dominated or swept away.
That's why we ban it all. Yep.
Okay.
Knowing that full well. And there's a couple of ways to handle that, right? That I feel is when someone comes in and they just make like the copy paste hate statement, it's very clear that they don't care. We ban them. And then they put an unban request. And sometimes they'll be like, hey, I didn't realize it was that big of a deal. And then they come back in and they're like, hey, I like watching the stream. Or they tell the mods to kill themselves, right? And like, obviously, if they're going to tell the mods to kill themselves, they just stay banned. And that happens all the time. But if they're like, hey, you know, this, I didn't realize this mattered so much. Sometimes they end up joining the community. And it's fine. It's just that first interaction, we don't want that like a million times in the chat. Like, that shit sucks. And it's not 50-50, but the mods do get a lot of hate, man. Like a massive amount. It sucks for them.
Cool. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. It's hard to deal with. It's something that basically every streamer deals with, where the moment that you're at the top of LSF, you get like this influx of audience. Which also, I don't think that's like LSF.
Yeah, Jenny's deserve less, for real.
I think it's the nature of like a gathering of people that are either rooting for the downfall, or rooting for an emotional big moment, or like want to be, you know, part of that. But I do still think that there's a large amount of people that are engaging in that because it's like their reality show. It's like their DMZ. It's like they're like, oh man, I'm part of that moment. Remember that moment when that thing happened? That was so funny. And like, I feel like there's probably even some of those people that will meet someone like at an event where they engaged in one of those things, and they won't think it's real. They think it's just like a cartoon character, you know?
Yeah, I've seen that a lot too.
Yeah, content creators aren't real people, correct? Yes, content creators are not real people. That's true.
Anyway, we've been at it for like almost 3 hours, bro. How you feeling?
Yeah, fine. Like, to be honest with you, I think so far this has been really productive. Because to me, like, dude, I don't know. Like, that seems wild to me that people just want it Like, I don't know.
There is not anyone on the other side of your screen. Hate to tell you guys this. Hate to tell you guys that there is nobody on the other side of the screen.
It seems wild to me that people just want an emotional response for that, when in reality I find that, like I explained earlier, I find that to be a disingenuous thing. I don't want to be that guy that goes and makes a fucking
How much is
video.
left?
Yeah, so I think that there are a lot of people who would be satisfied by that, but please don't take away. I think, like, I mean, you convinced me, right? And I've not done that when people get upset with me. So I won't just say, yeah, my bad, unless I really believe that. So that there have been times where I've made mistakes where I will say, like, I still remember, I'm happy to say it again. There was one time early on in the days of streaming that I made fun of people with micro penises. And that is like one of the things that I regret the most. Because it's like easy to do that.
That's an easy fruit, yeah.
It's easy, but it's like out of all of the people, like in terms of like
the
punching
most
down
marginalized
and stuff,
group
like
on Earth, men
out
with
of all the people
micropenises.
who have it so hard for, you know, just us to pile on and like, ha ha ha, you have a small dick. Like, that's not something that's in their control. And by the way, you can have a fulfilling sexual life with a micropenis. I thought about, I just became a degenerate gamer for a moment and stopped thinking about people in my office who struggle with those kinds of problems.
Yeah. I think that's actually really interesting, because that's like the internet, man. Is like, I don't even know. Like, I feel like if somebody's going to call you that, like on the internet, if somebody's like in a lobby and they're like, you have a micropenis.
Speak for yourself. Okay.
Don't actually mean that. They just want to say some shit. That's like some kid on Xbox saying you fucked your mom.
Yeah, right. So like deep within me is 4chan. Like much like ChatGPT, deep within my bones is 4chan. And so anyway, I was just saying, like, so sometimes I've made mistakes, and you know, I'll own up to those. But I don't think you don't compromise that. But I think there's like something in the middle of letting more of your authentic emotion out, and also be super careful about the way that you, even in your own head, sterilize your interactions and sterilize your contributions, which I think you do.
It's comfortable.
Yeah,
that's why.
It's comfortable. But I think you do that.
When the scenario is like super vitriolic, it's comfortable to sterilize that. It's comfortable to have like more of a logical conversation about it, because it's easier to process.
Yep.
It is less easy to, like, if I'm going to have a big emotional response, I feel like I'm being manipulative to another person, because I could do that. I could just sit down and be like, I'm going to have a big emotional response now, but that's not that's not how I am. That's not the person I am.
So I think it's an issue of, so you mentioned at some point that this has been a challenge that you've had before. I don't even remember what we were talking about. So I think it's really about, and this is for anyone else too, like, you know, we all just have to decide, when you say this is the person that I am, we all just have to decide whether we want to continue. Am I just saying, hey, this is who I am and I don't want to change this? And then
no, I don't think that's the case.
Well, I'm giving options, so I'm sort of speaking rhetorically, right? So we all have to make decisions for ourselves about, if this is the way that I am, do I want to continue to be this way? Do I not want to continue to be this way? And then there's going to be a line in the sand of like, what a level of compromise feels authentic and okay.
Yeah. Now, say you'll be his friend for 2 years.
What doesn't? What feels like growth? What feels like giving a piece of yourself away?
Yeah, because like for me, I feel pretty happy with the way that I communicate generally. I don't generally have a problem with that. And I like being able to communicate objectively, either with, you know, in my relationships, friends, you know, people in the community. That feels fine to me. And I think there's a lot of people that actually like that about the way that I communicate. It's like, hey, you know, Thor's talking about all the things of all the, because we'll get a whole bunch of stories in that come in from the damn internet that are like, the fucking sky's on fire. And then you look at it and you're like, the sky's not on fire. This outhouse over here was on fire. It's not that big a deal. Right. And I find that there's very few islands of that shit online, man.
Wow,
like
so
there's
true.
very few islands of people to be like, wait a minute, let's look into that before we start freaking out. Would it be easier for me to just like dive into the emotion first? Yeah. Would it be honest? No. Would it be quick views? 100%.
Yeah.
None of that shit makes sense to me.
I'm with
and
you,
like
man.
that's why I've always communicated that way. And it's not even a thing of like, I'm not willing to change. I'd be lying.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd just be straight up lying about all of these scenarios if that was the case. If it wasn't like, here's all the things as I see it, here's all the facts as I felt them, right? As the things that I went through, I'd be a piece of shit. I'd be just like a grifter on the internet that's just trying to garner as many views as possible. And that's fucking atrocious. Like I hate
not
that.
what it is at all.
I really hate that.
What are you hearing me say?
I think I went on a rant there.
Okay.
It's not even really about like what you said. It's more like that kind of just like triggered an internal monologue, and I was like, nah. I just went on to a rant with it. Yeah.
And I'm with you there. I mean, I think that there are plenty of emotionally manipulative grifters on the internet. And
I'm not even saying that like that's I'm not even like calling people out saying like
the
other side is an emotional grifter. It's more like, dude, like I can see how easy it is to manipulate people emotionally to gain money on the internet.
Yeah,
I don't ever even want to get near that.
So I have those kinds of thoughts, and I'm pretty sure that they're pretty narcissistic in my head. So when I have a thought like that, I'll just like leave this for y'all. I'm not accusing anyone, or certainly not you, but this is just what I've noticed is that sometimes when I'm like jealous of people, this may be just me, who are taking the easy path on the internet, it's really easy to get self-righteous.
I don't think it's easy. No, I mean,
for me,
not like that. I think it comes with other negatives, right? Like, I'll give you an example, right? You've got somebody like Keemstar. Keemstar makes a bunch of content that's based on, like, calling out scenarios, making a lot of drama, runs Drama Alert, right? I don't envy that. That's got to be a tough as fuck job.
Wow.
That dude probably absorbs more hate than most people on the internet just by the nature of the content that he provides to the internet, which is bombastic, which is divisive, which is emotional. I don't want to get near that because it sounds fucking awful to me and everyone that was engaging in my content.
I see what you mean.
So if I went down that route, I don't think it's easy. I think it would be easier to get a reaction, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but the reaction is not what you want.
So then I think that's more from me. Like I think that's narcissistic. So I think the thought process I have in my head is different from what you're describing.
Okay.
Usually I'll walk myself there, but I have that kind of thought. But anyway. Yeah, any last thoughts or questions before we wrap up for the day?
I'm interested in what your thought was now.
What do you mean?
When you said you had a different thought from like the different pathway for that, like what did you mean?
A different pathway for
thinking about that scenario, of, like,
the narcissistic scenario?
Yeah.
So Pirate Software, we're getting towards the end now. Pirate Software has made no progress. Frankly. He just, at the moment they got down to the core issue. What now? I'm like, I don't know if he cries. I feel like someone might have lied to me and try to sell me this content. They got down to the core issue here, and then he just sort of spoke down and says, "No, I hate that. Everyone thinks we do it as an idiot." That's okay, man.
So I think it's similar to what you do, but I think what I usually do is I notice that I'll see that there are creators that are doing things that I think. So there's one creator in particular that I used to like their content, and I noticed that they basically made a piece of content where there's a subreddit that I frequent, and they basically what they did is they looked at the most upvoted content on that subreddit, made a video where they're literally reading out the top voted content things there.
I see it a lot.
And so I was, and their video did incredibly well.
Yep.
And so what I realized is like, oh, there's this niche subreddit. They're taking the best of this niche subreddit and basically distributing it on another platform. And so it really like, it's never fun to see. So I was disappointed for two reasons. One is that like, I respected this person's content. Like when they sit down and they actually open their mouth, when they offer like commentary, which I assume is maybe it's not, maybe they're just repurposing it from elsewhere. But I really got the sense that this person had done a lot of like thinking about, and their commentary was what I really valued. And then I also, so when I saw this piece do well, there were two things that happened. One was that I felt like disappointed in the person. I was like, this is trash content. It's just like repurposed React kind of content. It was, I guess, React content, but it wasn't like, I started to realize why people don't like React content in that moment.
It's the description that people give of slop.
Yeah. So, and then the second thing that I realized is like, it's always sad to see how well slop performs.
Dude, oh my god, I hate these people bitching.
It's the same.
You're streamers. You're making okay, whatever.
The same thing that we're seeing with like AI generated art, man.
Do you think your shit isn't just like mental health slop? It's pop psych. It's as fucking slop as it gets, buddy. Why OCD is deeper than you think. Why software devs keep burning out. Why breakups are harder for men.
It's the same.
Yeah. So
I see it now. I think the scariest thing that I see, like in the gaming space, AI generated ads for games. And like you get into the game and it's like a phone game and everything is AI generated. The art is like just trash and they do amazing. Like,
yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of downloads. And you're like,
so there are people, and it's interesting, right? Because like game recognizes game. And one of the interesting things about being someone who is arguably knowledgeable in a couple of fields is I see how easy it is to be successful when you actually don't know what you're talking about. So in like the wellness, medicine, self-help space, there are a lot of people who will talk about science, but there's a big difference between a scientific paper,
like Dr. K, who talks about magic,
and the implementation of like a clinical intervention. And so a big thing that I see a lot, especially in the wellness space, is people will talk about things like dopamine detoxes and stuff like that. There's actually no data behind any of that stuff. They're like, I did a dopamine detox for 10 days and here's how it changed my life. And it's like that
makes a good story.
Yeah, so it makes a good story. So I think that there's, what I've noticed is that as you kind of dumb things down and make things accessible, your likelihood of like increasing in success goes up. But also you've got to be like super careful. But I think a lot of the stuff that some content creators in the wellness space say like works doesn't really work, right? And that's not the success of the content is not based on whether it works or not. The success of the content is whether other people think it's or interested in it, basically, right? And the most hilarious example of this is something called what's it called? Not anal bleaching. Sunning the butt or something.
What the?
Dude, what?
I gotta remember. So there was this trend on TikTok.
Wait, is that the one where they show their butts to the sun?
Yeah. So people would do that, right? Because they're like, oh, this
so they
part
can absorb the sun through their ass and then like gain medical shit for it. I've heard about this.
So the really scary thing is that, so you know, they'll say like, oh, like the butt doesn't get sunlight, right? And then what people don't understand is that since the butt doesn't get sunlight, it is not designed to receive sunlight, which means that you will get a sunburn.
You get a sunburn your
yeah. People were getting, so there was like a medical concern. It was like a public health issue. Like dermatologists were dealing with a bunch of sunburned butts, like not butts, not the cheeks, like the inside, because people would, you know, they'd like open it wide.
It's a gaping.
And because people don't understand that you don't, like if you shaved your scalp, I mean, if you shaved your hair today and you walked out in the sunlight, you'd get a sunburn on your head.
Crazy. Yeah.
So you need a certain amount of melanin, and like we don't have melanocytes in our bunghole.
Inside. No.
Like we don't have them there.
Okay, great.
And no, that goes into like the craziest area of, see, that medical disinformation is scary. Like super, super scary. That's like the scariest thing about it. Because like, I think what it goes into is people want to believe it. They want to believe that they can do something. They don't want to feel powerless in a situation like that. And you have the secret knowledge. And the secret knowledge is just behind a $5 paywall. That's only $5. And like, I hate that shit. Like I fucking, like that was like, that is actually the reason that we set up the Discord the way that I have it. Like the Discord is literally set up in like, here's focus groups, pay nothing, go talk to people in the field. If I don't know it, one of them will. Go. Right? Go interact with them. Because the idea of like siloing knowledge leads to that shit. It leads to the like, I'm going to make up some shit. And when I make up some shit, you're going to sunburn your ass. Like that's...
Yeah, so that opens up, I think, other cans of worms, medical disinformation. So like we have paywalled content, and so arguably we're guilty of that, but I think we're not in the same way. And I'm not.
The reason I get it this way is it's for areas I don't have knowledge in. I can't answer that, but maybe one of these other people can.
So,
and there's a consensus, not just like a silo.
Anyway, I think it's a fair complaint, and it's criticism that we have been accused of.
Really?
Oh yeah. So people think we're very, very like money oriented, which we're sort of money oriented, but like not really.
Your business, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that that too is something that I think is like, I don't like that connotation. So people think that there's like a homogeneity there. So for example, like we launched like a membership in 2023. Sure. We have like some paid content and stuff. And the TLDR of it is like, you know, I think it's so interesting to hear, but it was, the more free stuff you provide, when you build free stuff for a lot of people, it costs more, which is not something that I understood when I became a content creator.
That is absolutely the case.
And so that was something that like, I think a lot of people, I feel bad when people think of us as a business, because yeah, I mean, we're like technically a business, but we don't operate like a business. I mean, in some ways we do, but
I think the problem is
Just say it's a business.
People don't know how to understand that business and doing something good is not mutually exclusive.
So I would even argue that business and doing something good is the best way to do things.
Yes.
And the reason for that is really simple. I went to a lot of places where doing good was very separated from business. So the number at the top of the list is like ashrams, nonprofits, spiritual teachers, people who are like philanthropic and were doing things for the good of the world. Generally speaking, I saw the largest abuses of power in those kinds of scenarios. There's a lot of, like, the moment that you become a non...
Yeah, but that's not about profit or not, dude. Come on, that's not about profit. That's about structure. That's about structure and accountability, dude.
Nonprofit. Like, I've seen so many toxic work environments in investment banking and in nonprofits. Because in nonprofits, it's like, we're doing it for the ferrets. We can't pay you a lot, but we're doing it for the ferrets. So one of the really interesting things that we tried to do very intentionally was like, I'm not your guru. If you
a 10-minute conversation about how all online content is overrun with grifters, and then profit actually keeps people honest, though.
I help. I'm going to give you some stuff for free, and if you want this other stuff that takes a lot of energy and resources to build, you got to pay for it. And I think that interestingly enough, when I was training to become a psychiatrist, like, creating a transaction protects us from a feeling of indebtedness. And the moment that you add indebtedness to the equation, the moment you start doing extra for your patients, doing things for free, if you do something for free, then like it makes things muddy. And that's what happens with a lot of these like spiritual organizations. So we kind of very intentionally did it, but we also get criticized for it, which I think is like also a fair criticism. Like, I think that the people who say those kinds of things, I think they usually don't have information. But I think that they're, you know, it's a valid criticism on some level.
I think that makes sense. I mean, like with the rescue, I intentionally did not make it a charity. Like, I was like, I'm not doing that, because the first thing I talked to people, I was like, hey, we're thinking about starting a rescue. First thing that showed up in chat is, oh, you're just going to try and take a tax break. And I was like, that's valid. I'm going to look into this more. And I was like, I don't want to take money from my left hand, put it in my right hand, and be like, I'm not paying taxes on that. Like, that's fucking weird, right? Because it's still technically it's all the same thing. We're all just meeting the same objective. So it's made it part of the business. And now I just pay employees and do the whole thing. And like, yeah, Ferret Rescue makes money. It does. The ad revenue off of that allows me to hire people to run a rescue.
So
I pay for their medical and pay for their food. And like, that's not small.
I've also...
I don't know how any of this stuff works, but I just don't... I don't know if it's retarded.
I had a job at a place that was a nonprofit with a charitable mission, but was also like... And the problem is that oftentimes, if you don't structure it like a business, it doesn't stay self-sustainable. Like,
yes.
So that's where things, and I found that, so a lot of times, like early on when, you know, we started our coaching program, a lot of people wanted to volunteer and we wouldn't let them. And so here's,
Yeah. I don't allow volunteers.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing for me is that I've had a rule since the very beginning, which is you work for me, you get paid. That's it. Because it's so complicated otherwise.
It gets so, and I think a lot of people don't understand that. So I think once you are in a position of like managing other people and also consistently delivering services, volunteers it becomes really hard. So when you're doing stuff for free,
there's like legal issues, there's all kinds of shit.
When you're doing stuff for free and when you're not paying people, like both of those things, I think it's just way easier. It's like, hi, I'm going to make a donut. The donut costs $1. I'm going to try to make it as affordable as possible. And that's something that if people think our stuff is overpriced, I think that's not really a fair criticism. Anyway, but so I think that there's, anyway, we're kind of getting off track, but it's
fine.
Anyway, any last thoughts or questions before we wrap up for the day?
No, I think it's it. I think this makes sense overall.
Yep, someone lied and said he cries. They fucking misled us.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's mostly just interesting to me because it's like, it's really easy to get into a state where you're just like, I'm fucking done with it.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get there. I also don't believe.
I literally don't know who even said it. I don't remember who it was.
We're not.
I don't think humans were built for this. I think we were built for like a little bit of friction inside of small social groups, but when you expand that to hundreds of thousands of people, no one's going to react correctly because it's just that's not what we're made for as human beings. That's
completely agree, man.
Yep.
All right, man. Well, I hope things calm down for you. I hope
if anyone goes back through the VOD in the chat replay and finds who said that, I will ban them. It will be at least a week timeout.
People like watch this, like, you know, I'm sure that Thor made mistakes, but I don't think I don't think it's fair. I'll say that. I don't usually say those kinds of things, but you know, I'm going to go ahead and say that. Maybe I'm wrong. I wasn't there. I didn't watch it. I haven't seen everything that happened. But I like, can't we agree that like death threats and harassment and things like that is enough at some point? Yeah.
I think you split groups when you say that, and some people will be like, well, yeah, of course that's not okay, but this thing over here is okay. But what I found that I think is something that a lot of people forget online is when you make something, either a company or a person or a group, the subject of ridicule en masse, it empowers the people that think that that is an okay step. Like, we see that all the time. You see that with any type of social movement. You have people that legitimately have a concern, and then you have people that light cars on fire. Like, that's just how that goes. And the more people you have, the more that isolated extreme response group also expands. And I don't think that everybody who dislikes me is throwing death threats at me. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
The more people that don't like a person or a group, the more that increases.
Yeah, cool. Well said.
Yeah.
All right, take care, man. Thank you for coming.
You too.
Let me see if I can. There we go. GG.
There we go.
Okay. Thoughts, questions? How do y'all feel about how that went?
Wow. Fuck whoever said he cries. Seriously. But I mean, it was kind of funny anyway. It was worth watching, I think. There was a crash out in the middle.